All right, what's up, guys? We're live. I'm here with ET Phone Home, our caster tonight. How you doing, man?
Yeah.
Good. We have quite a lineup tonight. Let's show that again on the stream. So we have Ian Phone is back. You know him well. Tell us about him and how he's been feeling since his debut.
Very excited, I think.
Facing Miss Uber XL. We'll start that off there. That's code B. And then later on, code A is actually not going to be Stu Blue. He's sick, so Cyan is taking his spot. They're switching the schedule. Hyper Turtle's already ready. That's for code A. And then yours truly for code S. I'm playing Frieden, the Dangerous Random, with my Terran, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, so
Is that gonna be
yeah.
your first?
No, I played Hurt in time, but he was a Terran. This time it's Frieden the random guy, so it's gonna be a little tricky. But
Alright.
but yeah, let's bring in these our guests into the chat. Let's interview them. Our first group. It is Chien Pon and Miss Uber XL. What's up, guys? How you doing? How you feeling?
Not very good.
Not feeling good? Not feeling good right now?
Yeah.
Did you watch your VOD, the VOD of your match?
Yeah.
And I guess you kind of learned a few things, or what do you think? You practiced certain things you saw that you were didn't feel good about, or what? What do you think?
Practice against.
How about you, Miss Uber XL? This is your debut tonight for the season. You look,
I'm nervous.
you look pretty good though, as far as your macro at least, right?
I move my mic over. Hear me?
I'm sure Cyan's been coaching you, right?
Yeah, somewhat, somewhat.
Yeah, Cyan's a
I
Protoss,
try
so
to play.
that helps.
I try to play my own, but versus going up a lot. That's what I have trouble with. I don't really go up against this.
Okay. ET, what do you think, man? You got any questions for these two before we get started?
You covered it pretty well.
I'm fine with. Still haven't really figured out. I win a lot of.
Yeah.
Probably.
Least
Okay.
favorite? Oh. Well, you didn't veto
All
it.
right.
So, well, it's PvP, so that's the good news. Protoss versus Protoss. Well, any final words or comments before we get started with you two?
GL.
GLHF? All right. Okay, so we're gonna server deafen and mute you guys now. So there you go. Mizel will help me do that. He's the admin tonight, and we will hide our cameras here to look at. Okay, so in I don't know. We're ready for. We're all set, right? All right. So Yeah, go ahead. ET Phone Home, take it away. I'm showing the veto selections now. I hear you. I hear you. You mean to them?
To them, yeah. Stream up.
Oh, that's odd. I can hear you, so if they can hear you on the stream, try it again. Okay, we have a technical problem right now, guys, so hold on tight. We may have to redo this.
So, I had pasta for dinner tonight. Oh, hey, I hear myself. Okay, I think we're good.
Okay, so we had a little bit of issue. I think we better bring him back in and talk to them because we never really got to interview them on stream because it looks like Discord decided to eliminate that part of it. Let's chat with him real quick. We're just gonna keep it simple. And they're back on now. So can we unmute them again, guys? Let's ask them because the audience, which this is for, and YouTube won't get what we talked about because Discord didn't kind of show it.
Yeah, so I guess we just kind of went over the vetoes. So I was going to ask Champone, you said that I think he's deafened himself as well.
Yeah, let's undo
As
that
well
for
as
him,
being served
Mizel.
with a I'm not sure if we can. I think he deafened himself.
You may have to chat with him on the
Yeah,
game.
message him.
Sorry, guys. We probably should have checked to see if you guys can hear us before we got going on this.
I can hear you.
Okay. So it's Chiampone is on deafened now. So Chiampone, I was going to ask, you'd mentioned that Blackburn is your least favorite map. Is there a reason you chose to veto other maps over it then, even though it is your least favorite?
Well, because I'm okay on all maps. It's just
I can hear.
it's a small map,
Right. Okay.
and all my builds are against need to be on small maps.
Okay, I see. That makes sense. All right, very smart then. Okay, so that's the veto on that, and then I guess just generally, if y'all could kind of go over, because I think nobody could hear us on Discord, just so you two are aware. I'm not sure if you heard that. So if we could just talk really quick about the how you're feeling about the matchup in Super XL PvP. You'd mentioned you're having trouble getting practice with that. Could you kind of go over that again for us?
Yeah, I mean, my husband plays Protoss, but I mean, me playing with him that's impossible because he'll just whoop my butt every time. So like when I'm doing the games online, I usually get matched up with Terran or Zerg. So I don't really have much experience playing against Protoss, but I guess it gives you know how to play it, so you know what you don't want to destroy, what you want to destroy, what's most important. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I have my hand-eye coordination's not very good today, so we'll see.
Alrighty, and then Chiampone, have you been practicing quite a bit since your previous match?
Well, I've only been able to practice for a few days, but yeah, learned a lot.
All right, awesome. Well, I think that's all the questions we have once again, so we can go ahead and head back into the match audibly this time. Thank you so much, guys. Okay, looks like they are deafened up, so we'll be ready to go momentarily. Once again, it's Blackburn to start us off, as you can see there. Vetoes are Brelingrad, Hardwire, Curious Minds, and Pride of Altaris. So we heard a little bit from Chiampone there saying he really likes short maps. So that's why he went for Blackburn. So we will see that in game number 1. We'll have to see what exactly he's planning to pull out on such a short map, however. Alrighty.
Okay, let's see.
Looks like we are. I think we are good to go. Yeah, it looks like you are the host at the moment.
All right, let's do this.
All right, we're counting down in. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be Blackburn LE to start us off. First match of 3 of the day. Chienpone versus Miss Uber XL. Here we go.
You are watching FSL Season 5.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're loading into Blackburn LE here in the lower left-hand side of the map. It is our green Protoss player from Redstone.
Chienpone.
And his opponent in the lower left in the teal. She is
Mrs. Uber XL.
And our map is, of course, Blackburn LE. Very short map. Some wonky stuff that can go on here. Looks like it's going to be Gateway for Chienpone initially, and same for Miss Uber XL. Now, obviously, this is the Code B match for the day, which is the low divisions of Bronze through Gold. I believe it's Gold. Bronze through Gold, somewhere in that range. So these are when players are really starting to kind of assemble their knowledge of StarCraft and get their skills set up. And so a lot of times we see fairly new players in that. And of course, this is true in this case where we have Miss Uber XL, who's played one season before, and then Chienpone, who this is his very first season of the FSL. We've seen Miss Uber XL improve a lot over the previous season, so we hope to see that continue into this one. It is going to be a double gate setup for her, whereas Chienpone is opting for a fast 2 gases. And looks like he's dropping his Cyber Core down as well. We'll see that following up for Miss Uber XL as well. And there's Chienpone's second pylon. He's not saturated his gases just yet. Okay, there we go. Filling them up right now. And all those probes mining away. We'll have to see what kind of tech options they opt for in this game. Obviously, Chienpone earlier this season we saw play extremely aggressive against Zerg, opting for just a 2-gate Zealot walk in the first 2 games and then Dark Templar in the third. But it looks like he's actually looking to expand in this game pretty quickly. A 2-minute, 10-second Nexus is rather quick for PvP. Meanwhile, Miss Uber XL, she's making Zealots at home and then some Stalkers to defend, which means she's not really looking to go for a push, probably. So will be nice for Chienpone to be able to get that base up, hopefully unattacked, but we'll see. No tech out of either player just yet. We do see a Twilight Council now and a Robo Facility for Chienpone, which is a lot of stuff going on. One delicate balance in the early game of PvP especially is balancing your economy with your production, with your tech. So if you're opting for a Nexus this early and 2 tech buildings, it's going to be hard to make value come out of all 3 buildings. So we'll have to see what he manages to do with these, but he'll definitely want to be probing consistently in order to do that. Meanwhile, Miss Uber XL, she's just continuing to produce Stalkers. Looks like she is going to move out and take an expansion. A little bit later than that of Chienpone, who is opting for a Dark Shrine. So we're going to see Dark Templar once again in this game. And 2 additional gateways. This is looking like a fairly solid build. It looks almost like the main base is sort of just a fake out of or the natural base is a fake out of Chienpone. Can't really fake your main base. But the natural is a fake for the most part. It's supposed to make it look like he's going a bit more macro-focused if a scout comes in, but in fact he is going hardcore aggression. He hasn't made a single unit yet. He's just banking every mineral and bit of gas he can to get DTs out the absolute fastest. Chroned his Warp Gate out, so it's done whenever the Dark Templar Shrine is only about halfway done. But that's okay. Is getting a Warp Prism as well. And obviously, as he said, this is a very short map, and you both spawn in the bottom side of the map, so it's a very quick rush distance, especially with a flying unit to get into that main base and drop DTs right into your opponent's mineral line. Miss Uber XL, no tech still. and this may be her downfall, as she's going to have to start a robotics facility, basically win the... oh my goodness. Okay, double Stargate, that's good. So she'll be able to make oracles to detect, but that's pretty tough to pull off. We'll have to see if she manages that. Meanwhile, the Warp Prism is out. Chienpone's first 3 units in this game have been Dark Templar and a Warp Prism, which is very greedy. If Miss Uber XL had decided to attack, she might have just killed him, but at this point, it's starting to look pretty dangerous for her. This heavy greed out of Chienpone is really paying off in this game. Now, he really needs to move out, but I think he's wanting to get a full 4 DTs because that's aesthetically pleasing. Oh, never mind. 5 DTs, even better. Can't quite fit all those in a Warp Prism, though. He's making a second Warp Prism. Ah. You know, that is one way to solve the problem of only being able to fit 4 units in a Warp Prism. Meanwhile, the 2 Stargates are done for Mrs. Uber XL. She's going to start producing Void Rays, but those are not able to detect. However, they do kill Warp Prisms really quickly, so if she catches the Warp Prisms and shoots them out of the sky before they can unload, that's going to be really good for her. Chienpone, I think, just waiting on that Warp Prism and then should load up and move out. I think. Nope, nope. He wants exactly 8, and 8 he's got. Now he's going to load up and move out, I think. There we go. Making lots of shield batteries as well. So there is the potential for Miss Uber XL to base trade here as well with her Void Rays, in which case she probably will still not be in a great spot just because the Void Rays are never able to kill the DTs. At the same time, the DTs aren't able to kill the Void Rays either, but it's a lot harder for Void Rays to kill things quickly than it is for DTs. Now, the DTs are going to work, and they're right on top of the Stargates, which is Miss Uber XL's only means of detection. So if he kills these or depowers them, which he has done, there will be no detection anytime soon for Miss Uber XL. And that's 8 DTs starting to rip through the army of Mrs. Uber XL as well. Chienpone ripping through the army, going to get into the probes here soon. She's dropping a robotics facility, so... you know, potential there, but as soon as Chienpone sees that, he'll be able to target it down, and it's going to take quite a while for that to get done and get any sort of observers out. And I think this might just be a pretty straightforward, quick win for Chienpone. He seems to be setting somewhat of a precedent in his games of that sort. First game tends to just be a all-out cheese that wins pretty quickly. We'll see if he manages to switch up the script, though. As I said, I want to see if he manages to flip up the script and win game 2 as well as game 1. We'll see, though. Very well played out of Chienpone. A very greedy build, but Miss Uber XL was playing quite defensively, so wasn't quite able to capitalize on that greed. Now, once again, we'll have to see. Obviously, that kind of build is probably not going to work twice, and that's the advantage of having these best of series is if you lose to something, you can adjust to that. Whereas in a ladder game, you're probably not going to play against the same person again, so you don't get to make that adjustment. So she'll probably get detection out, in this case, a lot quicker. And that means that if he does opt for DTs again, it probably will backfire. So we'll have to see if he has something else up his sleeves. Just one build, not enough oftentimes in a best of 3 like this. But our next map will be 2000 Atmospheres LE, a slightly longer map, a slightly more macro-focused map in theory. But obviously in the Code B more than anywhere else, picks tend to matter a little bit less. And your build tends to matter a little bit more. It's those slight edges that are so big, especially in the early stages. Slight improvements make so much more of a difference at the lower levels than they do at the top levels because there's so much to improve on. So just making it so you hit your supply blocks a little bit less gets you, an extra 10 to 20 supply for that fight that you lost previously because you were just barely behind an army, and then you win. So the map pick doesn't matter all too much, but a little bit longer. So if he does opt for some sort of rush build, it will give Miss Uber XL more time to defend it. So that may come into play. We will see. As our players are just getting ready to go. As I said, it will be 2,000 atmospheres and a PvP. So we'll see what happens, what changes, if anything. Or if we'll see Game 1 repeated again. I kind of doubt it. I imagine we will see a different build out of both of our players in this game.
You are watching FSL Season 5.
Alrighty, starting us off in the lower left-hand side of 2,000 atmospheres. LE is our teal Protoss player. She is
Mrs. Uber XL.
And her opponent in the upper right. In the green, winning game 1. Will he be able to close it out? He is
Chin Pong.
Oh, and Pone, he is indeed switching it up. And he's going to try a cannon rush, which is, of course, a staple of Protoss players from bronze to top 10 GM. Well, not quite, but close. Nonetheless, a staple of many Protoss players across all levels. He's dropping a pylon right in vision of Mrs. Uber XL. Does she actually see it, though? Yes, and she pulls every probe. Pone's going to reposition his probe and drop a pylon elsewhere. Will he cancel this pylon, though? He does cancel it. He's just continuing to run around and build pylons in various different corners. Now, this is obviously a lower-level cannon rush, so the idea of walling your cannon in to protect it and things like that is a little bit otherworldly. But Miss Uber XL, I think, thinks she's cleaned it up. Pone is dropping more pylons. Okay, maybe just going to try and rely on Zealots to clean this up, but he's going to be able to drop several cannons, not dropping them in any sort of defensible position, though, so probes would be... Uber XL opts to instead kill her own gateway with the probes, which is not the greatest choice, but, shouldn't make too much of a difference. Zealot is on the way out, but I don't think it's going to make it out quickly enough. There's 2 cannons on the way, multiple pylons out. Oh, she thinks that those are his probes attacking her gateway, so she's... Oh, no. She thought that the probes attacking her gateway were Pone's probes, so she A-clicked them to kill them and murdered her own probes in cold blood. Now, the 2 cannons are up. I think this is going to be a really quick game number 2, and Pone going for the throat in this series in every game. An extremely aggressive play, and seems to have worked out for him as he is up 12 workers to 1. Expect we'll see Mrs. Uber XL GG out very soon. Trying to make another Zealot. She has enough to make 2 Zealots, but no real tech behind that to make Stalkers. The Zealots just aren't going to be able to beat this number of cannons. It's a heartbreaking scenario there for Mrs. Uber XL. Cannon rushes are a nasty business, and Mrs. Uber XL does indeed. Man, what an aggressive series. Looks like Pone does indeed take it. Alrighty, let's talk to our players then. We'll start off with Mrs. Uber XL. He kind of threw everything at you and the kitchen sink. Were you kind of expecting aggressive plays out of him from his previous match? Did you manage to look at that before this series, or were you kind of going into a blind?
No, I watched him play last week because he played Meadow last week, so I watched it.
Okay. Yeah, it's hard. There's a lot of different cheeses.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not a. The games are so quick; it's hard to find much to talk about there. But yeah, I mean DTs and then cannon rushes. Now, there was a moment in game 2. I was wondering if you realized that you accidentally sent 2 of your probes to attack your gateway, and then you sent your probes to kill those probes, but they were your probes. Did you realize that?
No, I think I thought they were his. I don't know. I was just sitting there because I don't cheese like that. So when people do it to me, I get so ticked off. I'm trying to have a fun game, and that stuff to me is not fun. So when that happens, it always throws me off.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely one of the hardest things to learn and adjust to. Well, it was a good attempt, and hopefully you'll meet some less cheesy players in your future matches. But
Or maybe I'll become that person now.
maybe
So.
you might fall into the darkness. But well played either way, and good luck in the rest of your matches.
All right, thank you.
And then I guess Chi and Pone, you really went for the throat this week. Did your builds kind of go pretty much how you planned? Anything that threw you off?
Actually, I wasn't planning to cannon rush. I mean, it's the classic Protoss to try to cannon rush after you win the first game. So.
There you go. Following in the footsteps of the Protoss Masters, I guess. Well, that works. Yeah, so I guess build number 1 was prepared, and then build number 2 was just kind of off the back of that win, eh?
Yeah, I didn't know what to do, and I just decided I'd cannon rush.
All right. Well, well done overall. Pretty well executed. And good luck with the rest of your matches.
Thank you.
My stuff is all shut up. Put you here.
And KJ, if you're speaking, we cannot hear you.
Back there. Slide this out of the way. Slide you up. Boom, boom, boom. Where
We're
is
in
the
the room.
lodge?
While we're getting KJ put together, just so everybody knows, we are moving into our Code A match next. It'll be the Hyper Turtle versus Cyan, as they are moving their match up a little bit. As Stu Blue, I believe, is sick, so he can't make it today. So that will be our match coming up here shortly, as soon as we get some technical issues figured out. But I think Chiampone and Mrs. Uber XL, y'all are good to close your browser, your camera windows, and everything like that. Thanks so much for playing, and we'll see y'all in your next match.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys. All right, we do see the cameras for our players. We just got to get them into the call, and we'll be able to get that moving up in. All right. Looks like we do have hype.
Exit up
Welcome,
this door, babe.
Welcome, y'all, and
Exit
I guess we'll start off with Hyper Turtle. How are you feeling going into this match? Are you I feel like you might be feeling a little bit thrown off. Different opponent just shortly before the match. How are you feeling overall?
Different opponent, same race, Protoss are all the same. I don't know what to expect.
All right, fair enough. That's very true. So, did you have you done much practice over the last week or so since your 2v2 match, or just kind of?
I haven't had a 2v2 match yet. That's Friday.
Am I remembering wrong? I could have sworn I cast you like 2 weeks ago. Either way,
I've been doing some preparation, but I've also been kind of all over the place. I've been doing stuff in StarCraft Remastered, and I've been doing different game modes. But I've got things at least ironed out.
So, you can hear me now, right?
yes, there we go.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
sure.
hopping on using someone else's, as you can see. But I think for some reason, every time Discord is acting up for me. So I guess we'll sort that out later. But for now, at least the show goes on. It's good to see Cyan and Hyper Turtle back here. And don't, Hyper Turtle, don't let Cyan fool you. He's pretty good. He's a few levels up higher than Stu Blue. Yeah, so you know how he plays. So you're not too concerned, I guess. It's a big jump in MMR right there.
It's, you know, like you said, it's gonna throw things off a little bit. It's not gonna be using the build I was planning originally, but still gonna use stuff that worked for me. I've got my style. I'm sure he's got his.
Nice, nice.
Feel free to use the build you were going to use.
Oh,
Hey.
I might. Just to throw you off.
All right, so I guess moving over to Cyan, I guess you've had very little prep time heading into this match. Do you feel fairly confident in PvP?
It's one of my favorite matchup. I've always liked the PvP. Just I don't know what it is. I've just always enjoyed playing that.
All right, awesome. So feeling pretty happy going into this. That's good. All right, well, I think that's pretty much all the questions I had. KJ, do you have anything for him?
Yeah, I do. With Cyan, you know, we saw Cyan play crazy games against the Archaic, right? Have you had a chance to watch the VOD and see what we were talking about, right? Your macro was pretty good, but you kind of suicided a bunch of Void Rays and those kind of things, right? Have you sorted out and get peace in yourself to make adjustments for another PvP? I think this is PvP or PvT. I'm not sure.
This is PVZ.
Oh, PVZ. Okay,
Oh
he's
my
right.
goodness.
There you go.
Behind me.
That's right. Okay, so anyway, you know, regardless of the race matchup, you know, I think Cyan, you're still working on times when to attack, when to make shield batteries, those kind of things. Do you feel pretty good about that now?
Yeah, after I watched the video, I realized shield batteries are good units, so expect to see some of them this game.
Got it. That's all I had, ET. So I think we're ready to go look at their map selections. We can mute them now.
Perfect.
All right, so let's give them the stage. And ET, take it away.
Alrighty. Okay, so it's going to be Blackburn LE once again to start us off, but it's going to be ZVP. I do apologize. I get the races mixed up in my head sometimes. They all look so similar.
And I can still hear you, by the way.
Yeah, Mizell, if you could go ahead and deafen our players for us. I think he's trying to get everybody into the game, so a little distracted, but nonetheless, I'll try not to spoil anyone's builds, which I definitely know. All right, so it's going to be Blackburn, 2000 Atmospheres, and Hardwire, which is almost the exact same as our previous game, except Hardwire is getting swapped out for Glittering Ashes if we do make it to Game 3. Other than that, it's going to be the exact same first two maps from our previous series, which is, of course, the only ones we got. And, yeah, we're going to be hopping into Blackburn. We just got to get our players in here. All right, and it looks like we are pretty much ready to go. So, yeah, it's going to be PvZ on Blackburn. You have some interesting things that happen here with the slow zones in battles. We'll see if those wind up coming into play here. And then obviously there are the gold bases that players sometimes opt to take pretty early. So we'll see if they do end up opting for that. But it looks like we are pretty much ready to go. And we'll be loading in. So it's going to be Cyan, as we said, against Hyper Turtle, not Stu Blue this time around. Another day, another Protoss, I guess, for Hyper Turtle. Although definitely a strong Protoss in Cyan. One of the top players in this section, I would say. So we'll see how it winds up turning out for them. And I think we are good to go. Freedom, if you could start us off. And we are counting down in.
Watching FSL Season 5.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're loading into Blackburn LE. In the bottom right-hand side, it is our red Protoss player. He is
Cyan.
And in the lower left-hand side, the blue Zerg. He is
Hyper Turtle.
Now, I got a pretty quick probe coming across from Cyan. Possibly going to be cannon rushing, or maybe just a very early scout worried about a 12 pool or something along those lines. We'll see exactly what he winds up dropping here. It is a gateway. So everybody can stay calm, relax, sit back in your seat. It's okay. As oh, he's trying to get a hatch block off, and a hatch block he may get. He's not in the right spot though. Oh no. Could have gotten the hatch block there, but Hyper Turtle manages to get it down as the probe was slightly misplaced. Possibly not his intention, though, so no big deal overall. So we do have a gas coming down for both players. It's going to be Hatch Gas Pool out of Hyper Turtle. A very standard, very macro-focused build. Chasing that probe around and biting it. Cyan's just confirming the timings on everything, obviously, with that probe scout. At this level, this is sort of the top level of the code A, which is our Platinum division. You start to see things like scouting come into play a lot more in this division. That's one of the big things. They're starting to get their build ironed out a little bit, so they start worrying about cheeses because nobody likes dying to cheeses, and so that's really the first step of scouting. And then from there, people usually they learn how to send a probe or an SCV or an Overlord across the map, and then that's basically the only scout they do. And then you get up into higher levels and you start worrying about what they're doing after they're not cheesing you. But nonetheless, a very solid opening build out of both players, well timed on all buildings, so very good overall so far. Cyan does have a probe at the third base, and Hyper Turtle coming in, scouting around with a drone, just to see exactly what's going on up in that main base, try to see what the tech is potentially. Is going to be an Adept and a quick Warp Gate out of Cyan, so typically that would dictate a Twilight Council or a robotics facility, but that may not be the case in this game. We'll have to see exactly what he opts for. It does have enough gas to drop its Stargate here shortly, so may wind up doing that. May wind up not dropping anything at all. Who knows? Meanwhile, Hyper Turtle getting 2 queens out, getting his Ling speed, and pulling off of gas. Trying to chase this probe out, I think, is Cyan. Doesn't want to give a free scout onto his tech, but he's now got his Adept out, so should be able to push that back pretty safely. And indeed, here comes a Twilight Council out of Cyan. Now that he can sort of deny the scouting into his main base. Is getting a second Adept. Still no third base out of Hyper Turtle, obviously. Generally, you'd see that pretty quickly, but he's not opting for one just yet. Instead, probing or droning up, as the case may be. Getting an Overlord as well. And that first inject cycle comes off. Now he's starting his third base. And the Lings are sort of chasing that Adept around a little bit. We do see a Glaives build coming out for Cyan. This Warp Gate is nearly finished up. Going to start adding on a third gateway. Probably going up to 4, at least, possibly 5. We'll see exactly what he opts for here. Roach Warren, Evo Chamber coming down for Hyper Turtle. So it does have the makings of a defense coming together here. Perhaps has sniffed out this build from Cyan. I believe we've seen this from him in previous PVZs last season. So Hyper Turtle might be well aware of that and be somewhat wary of it. Adding on extra gases now is Hyper Turtle. We've got a Warp Prism coming out. 4th gateway is dropping, but it's going to be a little bit behind that of the others. But 5 Adepts now moving out. We're getting ready to. Warping in 1 or 2 more, and then we'll be able to move out. Oh, but a full scout comes out for Hyper Turtle. He sees the number of Adepts, so most likely does know what's coming here. He's actually going double Spore Crawler, just in case there is a Dark Templar follow-up behind this, but he's dropping Spine, so I think he's aware of what's going on. This is a pretty common response. You drop the Spine Crawlers just so if they shade past you into your mineral line, it's a little bit harder for the Adepts to take out your drones, because they'll automatically target that Spine Crawler rather than just sort of auto-targeting your drones, which is obviously pretty preferable since it takes 1 or 2 more hits to kill a Spine Crawler with Adepts. It's not much, but it helps a little bit. That's misleading, by the way. So, don't want to, lose someone their next game. But anyways, a lot of roaches out for Hyper Turtle. Going to shut down this push out of Cyan pretty hard. Doesn't even get that kill on the Queen, as that Shade did possibly overcommit a little bit against those roaches who popped just in time. Trying to shade past, definitely needs to cancel that. Okay, just going to opt to target down some drones, which are running as fast as their little feet will carry them. That's also fake news. I don't think they have feet, but, you know, whatever the case may be. And I think we're just going to see a counterattack out of Hyper Turtle here. As Cyan's not going to have a whole lot of army behind this. He does have an equal worker count, as Hyper Turtle stayed on a very low drone count to try and defend that. But no, one Immortal will be out, but that'll be just about it for Cyan, who does manage to clean up some Zerglings nicely enough. And it's only Roaches. There's not really enough gas for Ravagers, which are pretty important at this stage of the game with those Immortals out. The Immortal in the back will be able to do a lot of damage before the Roaches can get on top of it, especially as they do not have that Roach speed. We are getting a shield battery up for Cyan. And a couple shield batteries, very good. Hyper Turtle I'm not sure if he realizes, but he's going for burrow movement before he gets Roach speed. Which, having done this once or twice, I can tell you it is hilarious how slow burrowed roaches move when they don't have speed off of creep. It is painfully slow, but if there's no detection, they'll get there eventually and they will do damage. So we'll see if that does wind up being the case. Cyan does have the building he needs to make detection, but at this point he's, you know, focusing on making Immortals because those help stop roaches. And you need to have a lot of them to deal with roaches, so he's not making any form of detection just yet. Hyper Turtle, not droning a whole ton just yet. He's starting to fire up some more, but he's just now passing the Protoss in workers. Cyan's starting to posture. I think he's going to be looking to take his expansion here in the near future. And indeed he is. I would definitely like to see a Forge out of him as well, or maybe just a Twilight, or Templar Archives. Just so you can start leveraging that gas bank into some Archons, which help a lot with tanking. Or even just Storm. Storm is also very good. Roaches are coming out. They don't have speed, but they do have burrow move, but that's not going to help in this fight. Well, okay, nope, now it is. But now Cyan is very well aware of what's going on. He's firing up an Observer. And I think Hyper Turtle was not expecting him to be posturing out front of the base like that, so it wound up working out for Cyan that he did take that forward positioning. I think Hyper Turtle was hoping to burrow there and then move in from there, but looks like he will get the kill on the third base nonetheless. I believe, yep, was canceled. So that's pretty nice for Cyan. So the Immortals are starting to annihilate these roaches of Hyper Turtle. Yeah, and without speed, they're all gonna die if they try and burrow away like this. I mean, even without burrowing, I'm not sure if they can make it away. Does end up trading out for one or two more Adepts, but really not looking too hot there. We do have the Templar Archives done now. Some High Templar coming in to morph into Archons. But now Cyan, I'd say, in a pretty strong position at this point. He does only have 2 bases, but he's taken his third, and he's not really down in workers from Hyper Turtle, who is attempting to tech into Hydralisks, which will help a lot against those Immortals and Archons. But now Storm's coming down, which is sort of the way to deal with those Hydralisks. So Cyan not missing a beat here just yet. He's also getting Blink rather than Charge. Blink Stalkers obviously offer a lot of micro potential. Hyper Turtle jumping over to take the gold base rather than his, I guess, natural 4th. I like that choice, especially with how low the worker counts have been thus far. That'll be a good economy boost. However, does have to watch out for any units hanging out behind that mineral line to shut down the mining. We have 4 more gateways and 2 forges coming down. And, yeah. Looking fairly good so far for Cyan. Going to be able to get a lot of upgrades up. Moving into that third base, and there's not enough out for Hyper Turtle to defend yet, so the third will go down. He does have that gold 4th to fall back to, so potentially not the end of the world. And these slow zones might end up hurting Cyan here. Will he make it away? Does manage to make it away. Hyper Turtle does not opt to chase. Is going for a Lurker Den, however. And an Infestation Pit, so going to move up to Hive eventually. Cyan, once again, with the worker lead, down a little bit in army supply, but that's somewhat to be expected. Going to retake his third base. Is Hyper Turtle. Does have that gold base up, and needs to move some drones to it. as they're all still long distance mining, which is not optimal, especially when there's another base they could be mining from. Meanwhile, Storm's finished up. Blink nearly done. We got +1/+1 on the way for Cyan, who's starting to mine out his main base, but is able to transition those workers over to his third base. So likely we'll see a fourth coming down in the near future as well. Has kept his gateway count at a proper number. He's up to 8 gates now on 3 base, which is exactly what you want, really. We do have lurkers out for Hyper Turtle, who's just going to kind of do his name, I guess. He's going to Hyper Turtle. We'll have those burrow roaches to do backstabs, which can be quite strong. And Cyan, I think, still unaware of the gold base taken by Hyper Turtle, but is opting for one himself. And these drones still long distance mining. I mean, this is so much money lost for Hyper Turtle. This is just really unfortunate overall. Probably doesn't realize that they're there because most of the time players look for the active workers button, and if it says 0, then they're not really worried. But obviously, since they technically are doing something, they're not going to show up there. That one stalker is the Benedict Arnold of the army, notifying Hyper Turtle of Cyan's presence. Big Storm does come down. He does have detection, so we'll be able to move in on these lurkers potentially. Opts not to. There are 5 lurkers, which is a pretty strong number, especially on that choke trying to come down. Hyper Turtle trying to charge in, but he does not have burrow speed for the lurkers, so he's ended up losing this fight in a major way, and I think pushing up was a mistake here. Trying to defend his gold, I think, but did manage to kill the detection and all the chaos, it looks like. So won't end up losing everything, but pretty darn near close to it. Up 50 supply now is Cyan. He has 1-1 completed, looking very strong in this game. And now he's moving over to that gold base. We'll be able to shut down the mining from back here. Lurkers should be able to move up and prevent that from continuing. But as soon as there's detection here for Cyan, which is now coming in, those lurkers are going to be mincemeat, as the kids would say. Now, warping in on top of the lurkers on accident is Cyan. I don't think he was aware those were there just yet, but now he's jumping on top of them, does take out those lurkers. I think there's still a couple at the third, but that's not going to be enough here. And Cyan is racing through the bases of Hyper Turtle at this point, doubling the supply. Vipers are out. The accidental swarm host has popped, and that's when you know things are really getting hectic for the Zerg. But the army of Cyan is pushing up into the natural base. There are a couple more lurkers, but GG is called. An unfortunate first game for Hyper Turtle. Obviously, I think he was not expecting Cyan's army to be sitting where it was when the burrow roaches came in, as he's expecting to be able to burrow up and send them in from there. But unfortunately for him, Cyan did indeed have his army forward. He put his best foot forward, I guess you could say. Now, game number 2 will be 2,000 atmospheres. So, a more normal, casual map, so to speak. Not as crazy as Blackburn. And probably the most macro-focused normal map in the pool. Very relaxing, very fun. We love it. And we are heading into it. So welcome, everybody. Here we go.
You are watching FSL Season 5.
All right. In the upper right-hand side of the map, it is our red Terran player from Psystorm community team. It is
Cyan.
And in the lower left-hand side, our blue Zerg player from what I can only imagine is Minnesota Barcraft. He is.
Hyper Turtle.
Don't take my word for that. I'm not sure. It's probably not. Maybe it is. Nonetheless, we have that fast probe coming out. Will it actually be able to get the block off this time for Cyan? It should be able to with how early it's coming across. But actually, it definitely will, because Hyper Turtle's not building a hatchery. He's building a spawning pool and a gas, and he's going for some sort of aggression, probably. Cyan will be able to get the scout on this. It was not quite a 12 pool. I think it was a 16 pool, somewhere in that range. So, not the most committed thing. Mainly just to try and get some map control, most likely. I'll have to see how Cyan does back at home. A lot of players can get thrown off when they see a pool first out of their opponent. That's not how you're supposed to play the game, they say, as they forget to make pylons and gateways and units and shield batteries. And then they die, but it looks like Cyan has practiced his defense against these sort of things, opting for exactly what he should do, finishing his wall off with an extra gateway and a cybernetics core and getting that zealot up. This is going to be a more relaxed push, so to speak, out of Hyper Turtle. It's more just to get map control like I talked about. Get a quick ling speed out to deal with any early adepts, and then just expanding behind it. So he's not committing super hard, which means Cyan needs to not commit super hard, which Cyan sort of is committing super hard at this point. Definitely should be dropping a Nexus, and it looks like he is going to be dropping the Nexus, so that's good. If we'd seen a bunch of shield batteries and stuff, you start to get really worried, but I'd say this is a little bit too safe, but not too bad. Not too bad at all. Very solid. So, well, yeah, not too bad. We'll call it there. We'll leave it at that. It's pretty good. I think 2 stalkers. Stalkers are pretty expensive, but that's all right. No big deal. He's gonna get the he's gonna get the Nexus. We got the Nexus. Nexus time. All right, so we've got the Nexus now. Hatchery is finishing up for Hyper Turtle, who has link speed on the way, starting to drone up. Now Cyan, I believe, went all the way home with his probe. All the way home it went. So did not see the droning happening. He did see the hatchery, so not the end of the world by any means. Should be okay here. Should have a fairly decent handle on what's going on here. Is dropping a Stargate in the main base, so swapping up his build. Obviously, the Glaive Adepts did not work out in the previous game. No way, Jose. It's going to be an Evo Chamber out of Hyper Turtle pretty quickly, so going to get some sort of upgrade out of that. Dropping his third base right now as well. And the Nexus going to be finishing up for Cyan fairly soon. Pretty equal worker counts, so not a very equal supply block, though. Oh, no! Although Hyper Turtle might get supply block if he doesn't make an Overlord soon, so don't worry too much about it, Cyan. It's all right. Does get his pylons up. Going to be making a Void Ray out of his Stargate. It's going to be a Roach Horn coming down for Hyper Turtle. Everybody's favorite fun fact of the day. If you didn't know this, I don't know how, but if you look in the Stargate, it shows you what units it's making. There you go. I just won you your next ZVP. You can all Venmo me. Now, we have Spore Crawlers coming down for Hyper Turtle. Hyper Turtle, I think, just does the general defense, which is a pretty good method, which is where you just kind of make everything that counters all the early builds. You make an early Roach Warren, and you make Spores, and then you're just kind of safe. And it's a good way to go, especially at this level. I think it's a solid way to play, so that's good. We have additional Robo and Twilight dropping for Cyan, who only made the 1 Void Ray, which has not managed to find the Overlord, so somewhat sad. Will it find it? Will it find love one day? Who knows? It looks like yes, because Hyper Turtle is trying to scout, and so Cyan's going to find it, I think. Side note, love the Void Ray skin. One of the best. One of the best. It does narrowly miss the Void Ray, which is turning into an Overseer to scout. We do have +1 in Roach Speed. There we go. We got that close-up with the fancy graphics on the stream. I am a dork, and I play on low graphics, so I don't get to enjoy it as much as you guys. Everybody kowtow to the stream gods. Now, we do have a Changeling coming in, but it's going to get blocked by the actual Zealot. the bouncer of the Protoss base, who does not recognize this man. All he has ever seen is probes and stalkers in his entire life. And Overseer probably going to go into the main base and scout here soon. Cyan is getting charge up now. Dropping a couple extra pylons. Probably will take an expansion soon, or drop a bunch of extra gateways. And it looks like he is looking to drop a bunch of extra gateways. Now this is what we call extremely unfortunate, which is where you make the void raid to deny the scout, and then you go for like a charge build behind it, like an all-in, which I think is what Cyan's doing, but then you don't manage to find the Overseer, so they get the scout anyways. So hopefully that's not what happens here. Maybe it won't be what happens here, but it might be what happens here. We'll have to see. We have a cheeky Nidus Worm coming down, and a second Stargate out of Cyan, who I think might be pulling out of his build because he hasn't been able to find the Overlord, so he's worried he got scouted or something. Or maybe he wasn't intending on it all along. I don't know for sure. Or at least I can't say. The Nidus Worm is coming down, but with 2 Void Rays, if they react fairly quickly, he should be able to deny that before it gets up, but he does not see it. So it's going to get up. However, there are a lot of charge lots, so maybe it'll work out in his favor. The thing is here, Hyper Turtle does not have a significant army supply advantage, but he does have a lot of queens. So it's going to be hard to see exactly how this fight goes. The charge lots are going to be pretty good here, but Hyper Turtle actually has a very nice little choke setup for his units here. The Hyper Turtle hitting some good injects. Goodness. Transfuses thus far. The queens are targeting down on the Void Rays and do manage to clean them up for the most part. And all the units of Cyan are falling. I think Hyper Turtle might be able to take this one with that epic choke point. And no shield battery in the main base, which I can't really blame Cyan for. Who makes those? Nobody. That's who. So it is going to go on to game 3. A good build out of Hyper Turtle, and GG is called. Alrighty, we done it, ladies and gentlemen. We got to a game 3 tonight. You can all collect on your bets, and we will be moving on to Hardwire for our final map of this series before we head into our final series of the night. Try that on for size. Now, if you are enjoying the broadcast and you want to come back for more later, make sure to drop a follow. We do stream Wednesday and Friday for the FSL for the foreseeable future. Who knows when we may escape. It'll be a while. But we enjoy it, and we hope you enjoy it too, so make sure to drop a follow if you want to make sure you don't miss it in the future. So, we had a little bit of a tit for tat there. Cyan does almost an all-in, fails completely at it, then wins the game anyways, and then Hyper Turtle does an all-in and just wins the game. So, whatever you prefer, really. I mean, whatever you think is best. But it is going to be Hardwire LE, third map of the series, our final map of the series, assuming there isn't a draw. I always say that and it never happens. Come on, guys. Here we go.
Watching FSL Season 5.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the bottom left-hand side of the map, it is our red Protoss player. He is
Cyan.
And his opponent, tying the series up in game number 2, our blue Zerg. He is
Hyper Turtle.
Alrighty. Both players looking fairly normal, except for Cyan. So I guess I should say half of the players looking fairly normal. Cyan opting for a high ground wall off, and then sending a probe across the map pretty late. So we'll see exactly what he's planning on doing here. Hyper Turtle, though, just expanding this game around and going for a hatch gas pool. And still nothing of particular note coming out for Cyan, so perhaps just doing a regular expand with a high ground wall off. That's completely fine. As the probe is scouting around for Cyan, sees what's going on. Cybercore now dropping for Cyan, who is not expanding. It's dropping a second gas and a second pylon instead. And mining 4 out of 3 on gas, so that he gets 75% more gas per trip. Make sure to follow for more helpful real tips. Now, second gateway is dropping for Cyan, who has fixed that gas count, so nobody panic. And Hyper Turtle now getting the scout off on what's going on, sort of, but he's missed the proxy pylon across the map, which is going to be making something, but we don't know what yet because Cyan doesn't have enough gas yet. Possibly just a warp-in pylon, but I kind of doubt it. Second gateway going to be finishing up soon, and a third one on the way, so it's just going to be a good old 3-gate build out of Cyan. Hyper Turtle sending some overlords out to try and see what's going on. This one won't quite see, but should see any units that move out pretty quickly, unless he moves it. I got to hedge my bets after all. Baneling Nest on the way for Hyper Turtle to defend. He knows something fishy's going on. And in this case, it's not the surf and turf from McDonald's, which, by the way, what on earth is the surf and turf from McDonald's? Who thought that was a good idea? I'll never know. But we have a second, which is actually a 4th gateway coming down across the map. Cyan looking to remove the scouts. And goodness gracious, that's close to scouting those, but it does not yet. It's going to be 4-gate. Meanwhile, though, Hyper Turtle's just all-inning Cyan. He pulls the classic Uno reverse card and is going to try and Baneling bust a 1-base Protoss. I don't quite understand, but who am I to judge? This may end up working out because he can catch the Stalkers in the middle of the map, but now there's going to be units coming into his side of the map, and we do see Hyper Turtle now running home and saying, hey, that's not what's supposed to happen. I'm supposed to be attacking you. But he's been bamboozled. I think he may still be able to defend, though, because he stayed on a very low worker count. Cyan has to be extremely careful here. If his army gets cleaned up one time, that's it. That's game. And Hyper Turtle going for the break and then pulling back. So he is bleeding some Zerglings. He's been bleeding quite a few Zerglings throughout this game. That's a good amount of Stalkers up now, but keep in mind they don't have Blink. Does manage to kill one Queen before the fight even really begins. And now the surround comes in, though, and I'm not sure that one Zealot's like, let me at him, but he's surrounded by Stalkers, so he's not able to. I think this fight is going to go Hyper Turtle's way as Cyan. Stalkers versus Zerglings is not the prettiest fight. Does manage to get out with a few. And a decent trade. Does trade slightly better than his opponent, who's making an additional 16 lings. But now there's going to be Spine Crawlers out to help defend, and Queens with Transfuse Energy. So things are starting to look a little bit more ugly. Adepts do come out. Shield batteries being made. He's trying to catch the Protoss and force him to stay in range of the Spine Crawlers. Isn't quite able to do that, but might be able to just straight up overwhelm here. As the Queens are trying to take out those shield batteries, but the Lings do get cleaned up. If that shield battery finishes up and he warps in around to 4 Stalkers, it's not going to finish up. Why am I even saying this? Oh well. It was a good try. Still a fairly even supply count for both players. We really need to see Cyan continue to warp in. I'm sure he's just waiting for the warping to come up. We'll see that shortly. Actually, never mind. He's just going to expand. I think that's fine. Hyper Turtle has committed so much to the defense that He's down 6 workers, which is a lot of workers to be down. And he hasn't traded the most efficiently. He has managed to bring it back to where he's trading more efficiently, but it's not quite where it needs to be. And if he takes this fight, it might actually even up all the way. Okay, traded slightly better still. Not bad. Even worker count, though. And obviously a big committal on the defense from Hyper Turtle, who has made 3 spine crawlers and all. But on the other side of things, Cyan has 3 pylons and 2 gateways that are basically free pickings if Hyper Turtle goes to find them and kill them. Doesn't really have anything to defend those. So if he does wind up taking those out, that'll make it look a good bit better for Hyper Turtle overall. But if Cyan's able to continue producing off of those, that'll be a big deal. And obviously, as we're seeing there from the camera, Hyper Turtle did not scout those, but at the same time, when 2 Stalkers and 2 Zealots run in from the top left side of the map, you have to just use your deduction skills and assume that there's a warp prism somewhere at 2 minutes into the game. No, I'm just joking about that. But sometimes it's hard. After all that fighting, you get kind of busy. You can completely forget that you saw 2 Stalkers and 2 Zealots come walking out and just blissfully go about your day. Which now we need another betting pool set up to see exactly how long it's going to take. How many workers are going to be on Hyper Turtle's base before he realizes that there are 2 gateways and 3 pylons next to it? I'm going to guess about 8. So throw your guesses in the chat. Let me know, and we'll see who's closest. Although who knows? It looks like Hyper Turtle might not be droning up at all, so it might not be 8. It might be 0. But throw your guesses anyways. Now, Cyan does have a pretty significant army lead because of those 4, now 5 gateways. So we'll see what happens there. And is getting his tech up. Hyper Turtle trying to get a scout going with Pneumatized Carapace. Is adding on workers. My bet is beginning to look better. Slightly. He's also playing it pretty safe. He's got spores in every spot. I don't think... Yeah, the base still can't really see anything. I think if the gas finishes up, it'll scout it. So if he makes a gas, boom, scouted, game's over at that point, right? Not really. But close to it. Anyways, it's going to be Charge and a Robo facility coming down. I think Cyan's basically just planning on following up his all-in with an all-in, which is a solid way to go. Especially if he keeps those gateways. That's a lot of production he has available there. And Hyper Turtle, I think, is expecting a switch into Void Rays as he's making a lot of Spore Crawlers and a lot of Queens and not a lot of much else. Which will be unfortunate. There's nothing sadder as a Zerg than watching 20 charge lots run into your base and you have like 9 Spore Crawlers because you were thinking it was going to be Void Rays. It's a sad state of affairs. Not that I have ever experienced that. Goodness gracious, no, I'm so good at scouting. Now, the Overseer is coming across the map to see exactly what's going on. Should be able to see that it is not Void Rays. So, nice. However, it looks like Cyan is not going to follow up the all-in with an all-in. He's just going to take a 3rd base. Meanwhile, we have centrifugal hooks on the way for Hyper Turtle and a Spire. So he's trying to go Mutiling Bane. This used to be a lot more common strategy in ZVP. It's not as common now, but it's a lot of fun. His Mutalisks, if you can get up enough Mutalisks as the Protoss, they do quite well at harassment, especially at these levels. It's very hard to deal with Mutalisks flippy-flapping through every base, right? So we'll see if he manages to get up enough. Oh, and he scouted it! At 17 workers, we all lose. What can I say? He's going to make spine crawlers to deal with the gateways, which works for me. So Hyper Turtle, Hyper Turtling. I think he's going to try and hold with spine crawlers and then counterattack with Mutalisks, which is a solid plan. However, Cyan is opting to go into a 2nd robotics facility and a Robo Bay, which will allow him to get up Colossus or Disruptors, or, more importantly, Observer Speed, so that you can outrun those pesky Queens. And the Spines will finish up, be able to help these Queens take down the gateways and the pylons. Still, a lot of production was able to be productioned by Cyan there. out of those gateways before they got depowered, so not too bad overall for him. Pretty equal worker counts, a lot of gas banked up for Hyper Turtle, who's starting to produce those Mutalisks. Not supply blocked, which is good. He'll be able to make a lot of them, or one, as currently seems to be the case. Now 3. We're getting there. I think he's a little starved for Larva. Meanwhile, we have Colossi coming out for Cyan. He's got Blink now as well. He's currently at 4 gateways at home. Would like to see a few extras come down to make up for the fact that he lost his poor, brave soldiers across the map. Nonetheless, we've got about 7 Mutalisks out / on the way now. Make that 8. Should be enough to do some havoc if he uses them to counterattack. I kind of like this at a Hyper Turtle. Not sending his unit rallies to one spot. He just rallies each base to itself so that if there are random Zealot run-bys and stuff like that, boom, there's roaches there. So that's cool. I like that idea. Very cool. Perhaps an Age of Empires player. I'm just saying that because my brother-in-law is an Age of Empires player and always hotkeys all of his command centers on separate hotkeys, which I think is a thing from Age of Empires. So, shout out to you. I know you're probably watching this. Anyways, Templar Archives coming down. We've got a couple Colossi out. Going up to 4 here soon. There's quite a few Mutalisks coming out. No upgrades from either side. Well, soon to be, I should say, for Hyper Turtle, but none for Cyan just yet, which upgrades can help quite a bit against Mutalisks whenever you're using Stalkers. Mutalisks are now coming out across the map. It is 14 against 13 Stalkers. But Stalkers do have shield batteries. Shield batteries in fights, like StarCraft is like rock, paper, scissors, right? And then there's shield batteries, which is when your friend like always says gun at the end, right? And you're like, dude, come on. That's what shield batteries are in StarCraft. You're like, no, I have Blink Stalkers. I should be able to deal with your Mutalisks. Or wait, no, sorry. I'll be able to deal damage. And then, haha, shield batteries. Anyways, good damage, though, coming out. 20 workers. Very well done out of Hyper Turtle. Cyan having some struggles with the positioning there. And does manage to kill a couple. Archons are now out at the 3rd base, and Stalkers in the main should be able to push these back. 23 workers down, but it's only even worker counts for the 2 players here at this point. So only really kind of getting them back into the game, not getting them much ahead, as you definitely would want to be higher in the worker count here as the Zerg player. Cyan, though, grouping his army back up again, which means Hyper Turtle's going to go in for another round, I believe. But Cyan's going to go in for a round on Hyper Turtle's base, which is kind of scary, especially considering Hyper Turtle only has 20 roaches and they are in 3 separate groups, which is the slight downside to his strategy that he's doing here. If you're doing what he's doing here, you really want to have overlords or something out to get advance notice so that you can group your army up instead of Cyan getting to fight your army in little bite-sized chunks, as is about to happen right here. Hyper Turtle F2s and pulls everything back to his natural base. I think potentially sacking the 3rd. Nope, he's going to go in now. He has a few Corruptors out, which are doing their best against the Colossi, but the Colossi are doing their best against the Roaches, and I think their best is slightly better than the Corruptors' best. As all the Corruptors are now gone. Colossi still up and shooting. Stalkers fighting Mutalisks. Mutalisks do have +1, which is nice, but now they're targeting the Colossi. Do manage to take out the Colossi for the most part, but they're going to lose their lives in return, and I think it's going to be Cyan with the 4-gate attack initially, macroing out of it and going into a big 4-base attack against the Roach Mutalisk. We'll be able to take it out in this game and take the series. It looks like I'm the worst hypecaster of all time. You can DM your complaints to me. I don't know what to say. Anyways, Stalkers are moving into the natural base. It's anyone's game. Sorry, there's that better. Stalkers moving in. Drones are fighting. Good Archon pickup out of Cyan to save it. Never mind, it was on full shields. I think that was an accident. You know what? Still good. I still like it. All right. Cyan warping in on the front lines will be able to turn those High Templar into Archons, and GG is called. All right. That is our second series of the night, closing out there with Cyan taking it 2-1 against Hyper Turtle with a strong counterattack against the Mutalisk, which did do a lot of damage. I think we can get our players unmuted now so we can talk to them. Mizell, thank you so much. And yeah, we'll just kind of go over the game and everything.
All right, guys. Very entertaining games, especially that last one. That was crazy. What do you think happened there, Hyper Turtle?
Well, I think I wasn't able to punish him after the rush failed, and then he out-macroed me in the long run. I think that's also more or less what happened in the first game. You know, was able to fight off the early aggression, but wasn't able to punish him, and I wasn't able to build up my economy and my army quite as much as he did afterwards.
Yeah, but you did a good job defending against a 4-gate with a proxy there. Right, I thought you were gonna die, but you defended it pretty well. Your read was good.
Thank you.
And I want to ask Cyan about that 4-gate. What made you decide you're gonna do something that hasn't really been done much since Wings of Liberty in Lather?
Yeah, I thought maybe I'd just catch him off guard with it, and I guess I kind of did. But he had a lot of lings. I guess he saw it. You know, there's no natural coming from me, so he's got to be expecting aggression. And I really didn't think I would come out alive on the end to macro back up after that.
Yeah, he pushed back, but he didn't kind of a move to attack your fleeing units, so he could have killed those pretty easily. And then he didn't check the proxy location, right? Because if he had killed that, as you know, ET Phone Home noted out, he would be way behind. So those are kind of minor things, you know, if you look back. So that's the good news, is it's early in the season, so you guys can correct those kind of things. What about other games, ET Phone Home, you want to talk about? Because game 3, you summed it up pretty well. The players summed it up.
Yeah, so I guess for Hyper Turtle in game number 1, I was going to ask, I feel like it was probably just an unfortunate thing of positioning with his army being out front, so he saw your roaches whenever you went to burrow them. Was it sort of the plan to burrow and go past, but then you ran into his army there? Or?
Yeah, basically. It was something I was going to give a shot to him, hopefully before he, before the time that they normally get to touch him.
Okay. And then I was going to ask, because I actually did have a build based around this a couple of years ago, was the going burrow and burrow movement before roach speed intentional, or was that just forgetting that you didn't have roach speed after the...
that was just the way it worked out, and, I wasn't really going to move out until I had both anyway.
Okay. All right, perfect. And then, yeah, so I guess, Cyan, did you kind of panic when you saw his entire army disappear underground, or what was your reaction whenever you saw that?
I did. I mean, thankfully, I had a robo because the way the adept build works, but I totally messed that up to begin with because I think I only had like 6 adepts or something when I should have had like 9 or 10. But thankfully, I had a robo, and then I just chronoed the observer out once I saw him disappear, and I was like, oh no, he's going to be in my mineral line, and that's where I thought he was, but he never showed back up, so I got pretty lucky with that, and then I caught him on the next one because I had the observer sitting way up in the air, so...
Well, one more thing is, he had a nice lead after your failed adept's attack, and when you pushed down, he had 6 lurkers. You took a lot of fire, and then he pushed up that ramp and lost everything because he couldn't borrow in time. That really changed the game, and he lost his whole army, right? So it's minor things like that that really changed the games for you guys, right? What do you guys think about something like that? Does it seem unfair? Is it a control thing? What do you guys think?
That's a timing thing. Just trying to get the hive upgrades for the lurker done in time, and they weren't done yet. They were researching, but they weren't done.
I see, and they burrow slow, and it's clunky, and it's annoying, right, going on the ramp. So, yeah, those are the breaks, guys. Any other questions, ET Phone Home?
No, I think that's all I had for this series. Great games and all.
Nothing about my Nidus?
Oh, well, I mean, it was
we
just,
gotta talk
was
about that.
textbook.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
I guess was
Yeah.
that the plan all along? Was that like a prepped build, or was it just sort of reactive?
It was reactionary. He saw my slightly early spawning pool almost immediately. I checked to see if he overreacted. I noticed he was really heavy on the upfront defense. And, that was the opportunity, controlling his movements.
Well,
Yeah.
the biggest thing about that was you went behind the mineral line, and you have this natural like defensive minerals. Right. It was a perfect spot. I never actually thought of doing that in my Nidus game. So actually, I love that move.
The Nidus.
Well,
So the
that's fine,
Nidus.
yeah.
That was the last thing on my mind at that time. I saw the early pool, and I was like, all right, I got to defend. I can't get my Nexus, and then nothing's coming. And I'm like, okay, well, now I feel like I'm behind. And I got my Void Rays out. I was like, I'll go air. Couldn't find any Overlords, and I guess he snuck a
Looks like he-
Changeling or something in there. And
Yeah,
I
he
was
had
like,
an
oh,
he had an overseer. I'm sure when you guys
That's
watch
easy
the
to
VOD,
overhear, yeah.
yeah, when you watch the VODs, each of you, you'll be like, oh, I should have done this. Oh, I should have done that. It's like minor things here and there, and you can take that for your future games. Every game is a learning opportunity, but it's fun to watch the back and forth between you guys. You guys seem pretty evenly matched. I'll be honest. Your aggression, your cool builds, and even the mistakes. You do tit for tat, as ET Phone Home says.
I think we were both pretty sneaky throughout, yeah.
Nice. Well, it was good seeing you guys, and good luck to your next matches, and congrats, Cyan. And as far as sneaking, now I gotta face somebody. I'm playing next.
Okay,
Good luck,
enjoy
good
your
luck.
stuff.
All right. So let's Mizel, is our guy here ready to go? Let's see. So, for those wondering, the Codes match, let's show that, is the last match of the night. And it's the two similar names. By the way, ET, when he plays online, he thinks it's me. People think it's me, and
Oh
and
yeah, I
close enough.
I think I had the same thing the first time I like heard the name.
Mhm.
Because I think it was an Instability was playing, so she said it to me. I didn't read it. I was like, "What? I don't think he's in this season." So yeah, I definitely get that. Well, I think it's going to be pretty exciting. I guess we can. I don't actually see him in the chat, so we can't pull him up yet.
Yeah, let's take a break, and we'll be back. Mizel will hopefully reach out, and we'll play. You know what, guys? I want you to watch the lineup video. If you guys haven't seen that yet for the FSL, everyone has their video up finally, and you guys get to witness the treat that is the video. So we'll be back with the final match. So yeah, for now, watch the video. Does he have his camera set up? All right. Guess we're back, but you know, we still need Frieden on. Kind of waiting on him to be on there. In the meantime, I'm setting up my settings for my mouse in a new computer. It's a little tricky, but we'll see. We'll just make it work, guys. I think ET Phone Home is still not back yet, guys. So what we'll do is we'll play
Oh no, I'm
highlight.
here.
Oh, you are? Okay. We're waiting for Frieden. I think I just texted him, so I have his. I met him, by the way, in California, and you know he picked me up in his NSX. I don't know if you're a fan of cars, but he picked me up and took me out to eat. Really cool dude, right? It was for BlizzCon, so he was really close to where BlizzCon was. This was the last BlizzCon that we had before the pandemic, I think, right?
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, so we went out, we hung out. So really cool dude. So I have his phone number, so I just texted him. So probably some other things happening. But I think while we wait for him, he's been here actually. I see that he has been active. His battle.net is up. So he probably just stepped away for a little bit. But in the meantime, I think what we'll do is we'll play one of the highlight videos for you know, so what we've been doing for the FSL, we've had, you know, week 3 and 4 highlights, so we can play one of those. So let's do that. Look for week 3. We'll do that, and then we'll come back when Frieden is on. Okay. Oh yeah, there he is. He's getting on. So we'll play this while we wait for him. So he's getting set up. So we'll be right back.
Block and making 12 overlords to deal with it. She is never going to be supply blocked again, but the charge lots are in her base, and she doesn't have any roaches because of that supply block. 8 roaches now being made, but Dark Templar being warped in, heading down towards the expansions of the blind and the deaf, and in this case they really are blind. No detection at all available, no idea that these DTs are coming in, it looks like, and the DTs splitting off to each base. I mean, our players in the bottom right are just getting ravaged by this drop from Little Reaper. It took a while to get here, but when it did, man oh man did it go to work. SCVs falling left, right, and center for Chumley. Rex, it looks like, will be able to stabilize with her roaches, but Chumley loses almost every SCV in his main base. That's 24 SCVs lost and 14 perhaps down the line. He does have enough gas to do so, but, you know, it's hard in these situations. This is where the experience of time really helps one team or the other. If they're more used to being in weird scenarios like this, they're generally going to know what to do and keep their cool. Whereas a team that has not been in this situation as much is going to have a harder time navigating this complex scenario. However, Little Reaper is losing a lot of his stuff, but it doesn't matter. Freedom sweeps in. Disruptors are a little ambitious, but he might be able to pull it off. Oh, but here comes the flood. I'm not sure if Freedom has enough to defend this time around. And indeed, he does not. At least not at his third base. He's going to have to sack the third base, but a lot of SCVs might go down. Looks like they will be able to run away, mostly to safety, but that means 3 tanks went down. There's only 6 left, which is a good amount, but that's a lot of Roach Ravager. 3 tanks now running in for Chumley. He saw the charge lots last game, and he said, hey, that was pretty cool. What if I make charge tanks? And, I mean, it seems to be working, so why not? They are pushing into the natural base, doing a lot of damage. Tanks are shown from the high ground, but there's not that many tanks left over here, and I think this may be all she wrote for Littledom in this second game. That's a lot of Widow Mines being produced, but Widow Mines aren't the best against Roach Ravager. Freedom is running his SCVs, but he's losing a lot of them nonetheless. And a little scared to push up onto the high ground is the blind and the deaf, but I can't blame them. They have a hard time seeing up there, and they don't know what might be waiting for them. And right now it's just a tank and a few stalkers. But oh my gosh, this Widow Mine count is insane. Now, of course, you can outrange Widow Mines with Hydras, but I think they need the upgrade for it, and I'm not sure they've got that. They're fighting until their last breath, but I think they're about to draw it. There's really not much left here. Even if they do manage to shut down a bunch of the mining of the blind and the deaf, there's just so much army left for their opponents. And GG is called. mean, honestly, the tanks are going to try and move up now. A tank for Chumley. Will it siege it? Little Reaper going to dive in. All right, some Ravagers coming up. I think they're going to go now. Okay, pulling back. It looks like Chumley's going to go for a counter drop maybe, or try and sneak in behind. And sneak in behind, indeed, is what he's trying to do. He's getting on top of the Warp Prism. Might be able to kill the Warp Prism, which would be very nice. That will get rid of the reinforcements for Little Reaper. And indeed, he does get rid of it. Very nice move out of Chumley. And Rex cleans up the ground forces. A big supply advantage for the Blind. Loses quite a few extra units there. Oh, the Forgotten Prism is forgotten no longer, it would seem. They do manage to clean up that one DT, but the turret? Oh my gosh, he runs back into the turret range, and then 2 seconds later, the turret burns down. That's very unfortunate. However, not dealing with the Warp Prism means the DTs are just going to go right back to work, and not going to do anything about them. Good harassment. Oh, a big fight happening on the front side of the map. Freedom's forces catching out a bunch of Rex's army while they're back home macroing or something along those lines, I have to imagine. Divide and conquering is definitely happening right here. And I think this fight is going to go very strongly for our team in the bottom right. This might be the impetus they need to really put themselves strongly into the lead. And indeed it is. I think they're just going to push across the map. Mutalisks coming out for Rex. It looks like Littledom will be able to clean this up, I think. And very, very well played out of them. They definitely looked a little bit...
All right, I think we're back. Freedom's here.
Hey, what's up, man? Sorry I'm late. Appreciate
No
you
worries.
guys waiting for me.
We're here now. Camera. Okay, I got it. Okay, good. So
Right. Do I got everything set up? Does it?
yeah, I think we're set up. We didn't do the vetoes though, so maybe back to my veto. I
I
think
mean,
you have
I'm
to
doing
do...
it right now. It
Oh,
says
you
that
are?
I'm
Okay.
waiting for you to veto
Pick
one.
whatever maps. I think for me, just whatever maps. You're random, so it doesn't really matter. Just
Well,
yeah,
I
just
have
do the...
vetoes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I
do
have
the
certain...
veto, and I'll just keep clicking until we finish it off.
All right. Well, I clicked my first round of veto, so it says it's waiting for you.
Oh, sorry. It's on the other computer.
No worries. Did I do the video thing right?
I think so.
Yes, you're showing up good on stream.
All right, cool. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you guys waiting for me.
Okay, hold on. The vetoes are right here.
Okay.
Okay, so just keep clicking me, and then you do it. Okay, cool.
Okay. So
All right.
Veto them. All right. You're gonna laugh when you hear like why I veto certain maps, but
Oh, well, you're random, so I don't really... I'm not too worried about it.
I still have preferences.
And then close that so you don't get confused. Sorry, I'm like helping with production too here, so...
Yeah. No, I get it.
All right, so I think we're pretty set. As you can tell, I have no rhyme or reason for my vetoes and picks. I just like whatever. But
Okay.
because it's random, when you're playing against a random, I don't
Yeah.
really know. So
I like certain maps because they're just certain ones I just don't do well on, and I'm not really sure why. Like there's just certain ones. So what I tend to do is I go through my ladder stats and see which ones I do really badly on, and I tend to veto those. And then I actually end up ignoring those maps for a long time, and then not knowing how to play on them at all. So
Show the full screen. Tap that button.
all right, well, ET, you got any questions for us?
Well, I guess it's yeah, I guess against Terran, have you been doing any specific prep against Freedom's Terran? Free Den? It's gonna be hard, man. Distinguishing, but
KJ, you can call me KJ.
yeah,
Have you
KJ versus Fred.
Yeah. So have you had any specific prep against Terran?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So my prep against Terran, honestly, is just trying to improve my own Terran. I've seen KJ's Terran. I played against it, and despite what he says, I think he's quite competent. So it's really just being familiar with like all the different things that Terran does, and yeah, he's a highly flexible player. So it's just being like just understanding like how everything works, which sounds like really basic, but there are things all the time that I'm learning, even though this game's like what 20 years old.
Yeah,
Um,
20 years old, right?
yeah. There's
Well,
just
the
like all
SC2
these
is not.
abilities. Yeah, like you
Yeah.
like just understanding the nuances of the like the little abilities and
Mm.
just understanding like what the spellcasters do and what's more effective or cost effective or what's actually practical to do and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Right. All right. That makes perfect sense. And then I guess freedom. I guess you got a glimpse into the mind's eye of a random player. I know you play all three races. So do you think that gives you a pretty decent advantage in knowing how to deal with all three races?
I think, yeah, sure, it helps a lot. However, it's one thing to know and the other thing to control it properly, right? But the other real advantage I have though is I feel like I've watched every single one of Freedom's games because I've casted it. I know how he likes to play. I know how unpredictable he is. I know when I watch him do something wrong, sometimes it works out anyway. Those kind of things. I think that's the advantage I have. The disadvantage I have right now is I'm using this computer. I didn't do any good prep time, so my control won't be as good. However, my game knowledge, my game planning, I feel pretty good about that. So we'll see how things work out.
All right. I'm
Yeah, I made
having
you
a.
an admin because you'll just have to
I
host us.
remembering it's Pride of Altaris, right? To
Oh,
start us
we
off, I
have
don't
to
have
also
people coming
add
up.
the production computer. So let's do that.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. You got That's the production computer.
Right.
Because obviously I'm using my account, which is usually the production computer.
Right. I am remembering it's Pride of Altaris correctly, right? Let me check the vetoes.
No,
Yeah.
no, I specifically vetoed this one.
Oh,
Oh shoot.
I was gonna say, I was like, wow,
Yeah.
you want this big map? I was like, all right.
No, yeah, that's actually. So I
Let me
see it
see.
as game one Blackburn, game two
Okay, there we go.
Berlin Grad, and then
Okay, I've got it pulled up now. I'm not usually in this seat. It's exciting.
yeah.
That's right. You
Frieden, I'll
get to
need you to
get
leave the lobby so I can get us into the right one.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Sorry about that.
Oh yeah, no problem. All right, there we go.
Yeah, man, they
Blackburn
let
out.
anyone take control nowadays.
Yeah, really, man. I'm ashamed of them. But all right, Michelle, if we can have our players deafened up, I think we are good to go heading into this match.
yeah. Can you deafen us up?
Yeah, I'm gonna
I'm
mute myself, and then
Yeah, I'm Dark
hey,
Menace
good
on
luck,
this
have
one.
fun, man. KJ.
Hey, good luck,
Oh,
dude.
yeah, this is gonna be good. All right.
Waiting on looks like Frieden to join the lobby. Claims. All right. Yeah, I think we do need to redo it. Redo. All right. We are in. Let me go ahead and flip our players over and make me a referee. I have the power now. And we are getting ready to hop into game. Heroic units. I've done. Wait. I've done the wrong mod. Oh. Okay. Resend in the invite. Everybody, welcome to the Scuffed Cast. Also, I'm still up on screen, so we can get rid of me anytime, really. I do have camera shyness to the extreme. All right. We are ready. I believe we've got our players. Just waiting on Frieden to confirm. He's all set. Here we go. I'm going to make everybody a referee. Everybody's a referee today. And I saw the thing on the right-hand side. It's like, do you want to have heroic units enabled? And I was like, that doesn't sound like a regular StarCraft setting. What's going on here? figured it out. So, all right.
You are watching FSL Season 5.
We are in the lower left-hand side of Blackburn LE. It is our purple Protoss player from Storm. He is
Freedom.
And his opponent in the bottom right-hand side of the map, the blue Terran. He is
KJ, you may take our lives, but you'll never take our freedom.
And as aforementioned, we are, of course, on Blackburn LE. Bit of a weird map at times. Frieden opting for a high ground wall off. Frieden, a little bit of an aggressive random player at times. And by at times, I mean, I think most of the time. I've only seen a couple of his series, but he's been pretty aggro in most of those. So we'll see if that continues onward here. Freedom, or KJ, I should say. KJ, playing as Terran, his quote-unquote weakest race at the moment. As I've mentioned before, I feel like swapping from Zerg to Terran is the hardest change. Except maybe Terran to something else, or Protoss to something else. For Zerg, it's the hardest change. Not that there's a whole lot of changes to choose from. As we are getting to see my pretty face. You guys are welcome. You've been blessed this day. But nonetheless, the barracks is finishing up. Frieden trying to slow that down a little bit, but good micro out of KJ. Preventing that. And it looks like Frieden may be going out to do a proxy Stargate or something along those lines. Does proxy a pylon. More towards his side of the map, but we'll see if anything comes of that. Nissen and his probe out. KJ on one base. He's got double gas going down. Reaper on the way, making his orbital command center and looking to maybe make a command center on the low ground in the near future. Stalker on the way for Frieden, who is indeed dropping a Twilight Council proxied out on the map. And yeah, interesting, spicy stuff. Factory on the way for KJ. Goodness, gotta catch myself. Opting to throw on a reactor onto that barracks to get out some early Marines. And not making a command center on the low ground just yet. Delaying it, getting his factory out a little bit quicker. Reaper is across the map, being a nuisance, but the Stalker does chase it back. It looks like. And it is. So I guess it doesn't just look like. Factory nearly done. Second command center and an engineering bay on the way for KJ. He knows what's going on, seemingly. Another day, another DT, says KJ. As he drops an engineering bay, will likely make a turret in the near future. No robotics facility on the way for Frieden, but he is getting 2 more gateways. He's walling his natural wall in, so we'll be able to expand as well. Though could be a fake to try and convince KJ that, hey, I'm not actually cheesing you. It works. It works. But KJ, well, in this case, it's not working, I guess. KJ is making a missile turret, and it looks like he's just going to try and hold his main base. He's not making a missile turret down in the low ground just yet, unless he's already made one that I missed, which I did not, it looks like. So it does have a bunker down there. Is finally dropping a turret there as well. However, he only has 1 Marine. He does have a Widow Mine. Make that 2 Widow Mines. So it looks like he's still trying to get some counter damage done. Going to go for a mine drop and trying to hold with just Marines back at home. A little dicey, though. If there's not enough Marines to defend, it could go real south real quick. Dark Shrine is finishing up. I think has made a proxy pylon, has Frieden. He has indeed. He's warping in 3 DTs at it across the map on the right side. Bada bing, bada boom, bada bing. Turret is done, but there's only 2 Marines inside of there, which is not enough. Widow meme drop is going out. Wall off is down, though. Needs to get that wall off back up. Oh, but Frieden's just going to run away. That's a little unfortunate. I think he just dived there. But it's hard to know what's going on up in the main base, so I really don't believe he made a mistake there. I think that's the right play. However, we'll have to see if he makes the right play defending this. He's only got one stalker out, and it's moving across the map right now. Widow Mines dropping out, but not burrowing just yet. They're just chasing the drones, or the probes. The probes try to run, but a big Widow Mine hit kills 8 probes, and another nasty one coming down. 16 probes. And this is what we were talking about earlier on in the series, is builds. Players start to develop builds at this level, and they start to do some work with them. Oh, man, all 4 DTs go down, and Frieden at 10 supply right now. KJ looking nasty in this game. Builds are the big thing. Once you get them fully ironed out at this level, you start to worry about scouting, but you can see the players really have a good plan going into the game. Their buildings come down at the right times, and their units start at the right times. But in this case, Frieden with some good scouting and good just awareness. This is something Frieden talked about, right? KJ knows the nuances of the game. He says, one base Protoss, DTs, GG. Alrighty. So that is game number 1 in the books. A quick DT timing out of Frieden, but KJ, he sees what's coming and manages to deal with it quite well. One of our players has asked for a moment, so I'm going to take this time to once again shout out. Make sure to follow the stream if you're enjoying it. If you've not followed already, we have matches Wednesday and Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Lee. So if you are enjoying the broadcast, make sure to follow so you can catch those twice a week. And it will be going on for the next couple months, and then obviously the season will follow up a little while after that. One of our players is ready, making sure the other one is as well. Quick, fun little thing from Frieden. He picks purple every game because that's the color of his card. So there you go. A little bit of knowledge there. One of his opponents might be able to use that to metagame him by picking purple, but that's a risk he's willing to take, I suppose. All right. We are loading in. It's Berlingrad LE. WCS Game Heart. Picked the right thing this time. What can I say? I'm pretty incredible.
You are watching FSL Season 5.
All right. We are loading in. In the upper left-hand side of the map from Psystorm, our purple Protoss player, he is
Frieden.
And in the lower right-hand side of the map, the blue Terran looking pretty strong. He is
KJ, you may take our lives, but you'll never take our freedom.
I really like how KJ played that. Overall, continuing to send out that drop and just having the turret in the bunker at the front did deter Frieden, because it's like, if Frieden goes in, does he get a lot of damage? Probably, but how can he know that? He can't. Now, the one problem there is if Frieden did make a proxy robotics facility as well, if a warp prism just comes right into the main base, you're looking at trouble, but that was not the case in that game, so very well done by Freedom KJ overall. We got Protoss once again for Frieden. The game not wanting much variety in this series thus far. Probe Scout is coming in, faking a proxy pylon by hiding it in the top right side of his base. Maybe going to drop some sort of tech building there as well to hide that from the Reaper. Oh, man. Meanwhile, KJ gets his gas stolen. Questionable build choice. I can speak English. Out of KJ there. I usually opt to not get my gas stolen, but we'll see what he has planned here. No, I'm just joking. it's hard. It's hard to be on top of that because it happens rarely enough that you don't really plan for it. But anyways, Reaper coming out now. KJ looking to expand and trying to block any expansion that Frieden may go for as well. Where Frieden does have enough money to take an expansion. Will he actually, though? It's looking grim for Frieden's natural. That's all I can say. Stalker on the way. Robotics facility on the way as well. And a warp gate coming down. KJ not really making much of anything. I think maybe he's a little thrown off by the build, the gas steal. He's floating quite a bit of money, an uncharacteristic amount of money. That barracks could have been a lot faster. Yeah, so now we see barracks and factory coming down all of a sudden. Not the end of the world, but definitely not the best scenario at the same time. Going to try and go in with his Reaper now to scout, it looks like. As Frieden moves down to push away the SCV, the Reaper will be able to sneak in. We're seeing a eBay block at the natural of Frieden. KJ does get a probe, has not scouted the robo yet, but now he sees it. He knows what's going on, mostly. And is still able to block that natural for quite a while. Frieden, though, not making a natural, at least not yet. Has a Twilight Council coming down, additional gateways at the same time. And Charge coming down for Zealots as well. Has an Immortal that was canceled, I think. Yes, canceled Immortal. Now a Warp Prism. Switching up his build a little bit based off what he thinks KJ has scouted. KJ is opting for turrets and things like that, which are not the most helpful against charge lots, especially when they're dropped in via Warp Prism. KJ coming into the main base for a scout. Will he see the Twilight Council? He's seen it technically, but he didn't see it finish up, so whether or not he knows that's there is up in the air at this point. And he did not see that it was being chrono boosted, so he might still think it's DTs. You need to react kind of differently if it's charge lots than if it's DTs. However, he's making a planetary. That's awesome. I love this. KJ is making a planetary fortress in his natural base, which is going to do a pretty good job against charge zealots. It's going to do a really stupidly good job. Oh my gosh, that's so unfortunate. If Frieden goes into the main base, though, with the charge zealots, it's going to be a whole different story because there's not going to be really much of anything. I mean, KJ Freedom has 8 Marines out, and make it 9 now, but that's it, really. And 4 of them are down in the NAB, but it looks like Frieden is going to go into the natural base, not the main, which is unfortunate. Although once he sees the planetary, he might go, you know what? I'm just gonna mosey on past. You know, I'm just gonna move along. You know, and go to the main base. That's what I'm hoping for. Although I will say with KJ's base, that skin, it's hard to tell that it's an orbital or a planetary. I guess you can tell it's not an orbital because the orbital has the dish on top, but it's hard to tell that it's not a planetary, man. Does kill a couple SCVs, warping in more charged zealots, but lifts them up into the warp prism. I'm going to try and drop on top, maybe? No, he's going to go down into the Nat, but you're not going to be able to get anything done in the Nat, unfortunately. I think if he just warped those zealots in directly on top of the tank, that might have gone a little better for him, or just dove on it with the original zealots, but it's hard to know in the moment what the best choice is. Stim now on the way for KJ Freedom, and he's dropping a 3rd barracks. Still no starport, interestingly enough. Does have an engineering base, so it could start +1 with that. I mean, he made it for turrets, obviously, but could leverage that into something else. Starport now dropping. Frieden making an Immortal to go with his Charge Zealots. A classic combo like, I don't know, apples and caramel. Who knows? It's classic, whatever it is. Now, Frieden sort of just inting zealots a little bit. He does kill 9 workers. 9 starts with this, just so you know. Take my word for it, please. But anyways, does kill 9 workers, which is not bad. KJ is very far down in workers at this point. But I don't know if Frieden realizes that. It looks like he maybe does, because he's dropping an extra robotics facility and kind of just macroing up a bit, which is exactly what he needs to do. But he's looking in a pretty decent position in this game. Frieden's SCV production has not been the most continuous, and he only has 1 orbital, not 2 because he made a planetary, which did help against the Zealots, but does not help against the great economy beast, which we all fight every day. Freedom also opted for a very quick sensor tower, whatever it's called, just to get some vision and knowledge on that warp prism, which is a good choice. Viking is hunting for the prism and will find it. Should be able to recall it if he notices it in time, but might opt not to at the same time. And just goes and sets it up. Embraces death. I dig it. Now, Frieden, as I said, has 14 workers up on KJ. Has double Templar archives. He's going for that classic Kadarin Amulet Psystorm Rush. Unfortunately, that was patched out in Wings of Liberty when they removed Kadarin Amulet. So a little unfortunate there, but not the end of the world by any means. However, Viking is going to the main base for Freedom. You'd be like, harassing Viking, that's not very strong. But fun fact, because probes are mechanical units, Vikings actually two-shot them. So they can kill probes at a pretty disgusting rate. Frieden tries to fight initially and then runs, which is the right choice. And KJ is just going to fly on out of there. Does kill 4 workers in the blink of an eye. And will scout the double Templar archives. KJ begins looking around confusedly. This is probably going to terrify him, so we'll hope that he manages to keep his macro strong. We shall see. Psystorm is on the way. We've also got Colossus range coming down, and some Colossi potentially being made in the near future. 3 Immortals out, 6 Stalkers, a few Zealots. And Freedom's economy is continuing to grow. He's pumping out 3 probes at a time. As every caster likes to say, the most powerful thing a cheeser can do is macro. So now I'm just like every other caster. I've fallen into the crowd, I blend in, and there's no reason for anyone to care about me anymore. It's a sad state of affairs. But anyways, we do have Double Forge and a Dark Shrine coming down for Frieden, +1, and Cloak coming down for KJ. So he's potentially going to be making some ghosty boys in the near future. Does have a Raven out already, and turrets, so Dark Templar probably won't get too much done, but they can be morphed into Archons, which are useful. Of course, if he loses the Raven, will be good for Frieden. Have a better chance of getting things done with DTs. But 3 starts with an F sound. 3 probes do go down, make it 6 because KJ has done a bit of multi-prong. Oh my gosh, the Viking makes it out with 7 kills. Wait, no. 12 kills, 7 HP to its name. Forces another probe pull and makes it out. You should get that boy back home and repair him. Oh, he's going to drop a mule to repair it. I love it. This is pretty great. This is pretty great after all. But anyways, yeah, a lot of bio out. Cloak also out. No ghosts yet. One thing I have noticed from KJ this game, we didn't really get to see it much last game because it was such a fast game, but definitely hits a lot of supply blocks as Terran, which is something that is very easy to have happen. Keeping your supply ahead of your supply, so to speak, is a lot harder than it seems. It's like, just make the cheap building, but it's just not that simple, especially as Terran. I'd say Terran has the hardest time of it. Which as a Zerg, it pains me to admit that any race has any advantages over me because I'm a jaded little baby, but sometimes I have to. Now, +1/+1 is on the way for Frieden. He has a significantly sized army with a lot of Colossi, which are good with splash damage. And there is technically a Viking out, but he's more of an offensive Viking, and there's only 1 medevac for Frieden. Now I'm confusing myself. For Freedom, KJ. Anyways, there's only 1 medevac, and it's dropping across the map, which means there's no healing for his bio army. And he's making ghosts. He's going to try and nuke. Which, once again, I dig it. But will his Marines dig it when they're being burned alive? find out next time. Dropping into the 4th base is KJ. Marines getting 8 probes alongside the hero Viking, who has dodged the photon cannon and secured himself 19 kills. A hero. An absolute hero. DT, no! Okay. Sacrifices himself for the 20 kills. He's got to get those numbers up, and get them up he did. At the cost of his life. Anyways. Good counter harass out of KJ thus far. Doing quite well. A lot of stalkers here will likely shut this drop down. Do shut the drop down. Oh, okay. Well, shuts it down, but it will be able to fly back into the main base, but there are a couple of stalkers there, so. And a Colossus. Colossus pretty good against Marines. KJ on top of this drop, but Macro is suffering a little bit. As long as it keeps Frieden busy, that's okay, but if Frieden attacks and he's got 4,000 resources in the bank, that's a little unfortunate. Ghost is dropping a nuke on the 4th base of Frieden. Oh, no. Oh, that's unfortunate, man. The cloak ran out on the Ghost because I think KJ cloaked it and then sent it out. Yeah, which he's done again. So the cloak actually ran out. He ran out of juice, ran out of energy. Just pretty unfortunate. We'll see if he manages to get a little bit more done with this nuke. Just nuking the very front wall this time around. And gonna drop another nuke on the right-hand side, potentially. These ghosts have a little more energy, so they're actually gonna be able to get the nukes off. Big O explosion may draw the attention, and there's a lot of probes on Frieden's 4th base. And big boom. Big boom, ladies and gentlemen. 24 probes coming down from that Ghost. KJ, he's styling a little bit, dropping the nukes in the mid-game. Another one coming down into the main base. How many probes will it be now? 32. 36, that's what I said the first time. Big army moving in for Frieden. This is his big hurrah in a lot of ways, although, to be fair, he's still barely got fewer workers than Freedom. So, you know, not the worst. The Colossi have been shut down for the most part, but even just one Colossi against these unhealed bio is putting in a lot of work. KJ's army is suffering here, has to run away. So, tit for tat in a lot of ways, but it's economy damage on the one side, army damage on the other side. Conventional wisdom tells us that economy damage is better than army damage, but we'll see if that winds up being the case here. It's just 2 Immortals and a Colossi and a Dream at this point. The Dream being, I really hope I don't get nuked again. And KJ picking up that 1 Marine, the most annoying Marine to have ever lived, as it continues to go back into the dead space, where he will poke his head out every now and then and go, yeah, and kill a probe. Which is actually a lot more effective than you might think. 1 probe, that's not much. It's the emotional damage, the psychological trauma that it's inflicting that you really got to keep in mind here. Makes my heart break just thinking about it. Now, 2-2 is finishing up for Frieden. 2-1 finishing up for KJ, who is dropping another nuke on the natural base. Frieden, at this level, it's really hard to be practiced against seeing where nukes are coming from. It's hard enough when you're a Grandmaster and, you know, have camera hotkeys to every base and everything like that. When you're at this level, it's a nightmare. It's so much of a pain. It's crazy. Oh, but here comes another one. So why not? Frieden's main, once again, getting nuked. He is trying to get out an observer, but that DT is probably going to die. Okay, does run away. He knows where this nuke is coming. Now comes the obs, but wait, the DT's running down to deal with the counterattack. Oh, this is good for Frieden. He's continuing to kill the army of KJ for not much else in return, which is what we like to see. This Ghost is uncloaked. Love this skin. I think, is this the Emojin skin? I don't know. Anyways, good skin. No. Okay. Didn't lose any of his army, just took some damage. A little unfortunate there for sure, though, but it is still 5 bases to 3 and 62 workers to 46. So not looking too bad for Frieden even after all this nuke damage. He does have an upgrade advantage at the moment and is starting to make some Void Rays to deal with the drop. You know what I'm talking about, man. Emotional and psychological trauma. He has made a Stargate and a Void Ray for the express purpose of dealing with one red HP medevac with a single Marine in it. That's how much any single unit can really do. Frieden getting a nuke on one of his full bases, though, where he's just starting building, so those will likely die to the nuke as well. This will be so painful. 19 more probes, 2 gateways, and a pylon fell in defense of the throne. Ghost is moving up to nuke, but looks like it's got detected. There's some cannons there. Does manage to take those out. That's quite nice. But now battle cruisers are coming out, and Frieden does not have a whole lot of anti-air. He's got 6 stalkers and a void ray, soon to be 2. It's not great. KJ trading ridiculously efficiently this game and now swapping into battle cruisers, but he got slightly ahead of himself. He made 6 starports on 3 base, which is not quite the right number. I think it's 3, but that's okay. He's getting a 4th up, so that'll make it better. But anyways, Frieden prospering outside the 4th base of KJ, who is moving into the 3rd base of Frieden. And does manage to depower the cannons here, and a lot of production for Frieden. Looks like he will be able to kill that base as well. Frieden tried to recall over, but accidentally grabs the wrong base and now has to run all the way back. Trying to snipe +3 armor and does manage to snipe it. Loses a lot of units. It's 68 army supply to 113, but the 68 of Freedom packs a big punch with 5 battle cruisers in there. No upgrades for them yet. Upgrades are pretty helpful, especially attack upgrades for the battle cruisers just because of how fast they attack. Anyway, sending out another ghost, but gets caught. Does have to run from his 4th base. There's not enough anti-air to deal with the battle cruisers here. Frieden goes in, but I don't know if Freedom KJ realizes that. Okay, Frieden now sees what's going on here. Fighting against the planetary fortress. Does manage to take out most of the zealots, which means his marines are able to help in this fight a bit more. Big Yamato cannons coming down. Able to take out a lot of the stalkers, but actually Frieden with the reinforcing warpins may have enough to push back here. 5 more battle cruisers on the way, and he is running. I think he does have to pull back here. Warping in more stalkers, though, and he's got a big economy behind this, does Frieden, and such a massive set of upgrade advantages. I like the BC switch out of KJ. It's a cool idea and would have worked out a lot better, I think, if he'd gotten double upgrades with it as well. Just because +2/+2 stalkers against 0/0 battle cruisers is a rough spot. We'll go for the base trade, I think, with the battle cruisers, which he may still be able to win. But because this has been a wonky game, he actually is heading to the wrong bases. The main base of the NAT have been absolutely ravaged by nukes, which means there's not as many prime targets there as there would be at this stage in the game normally. It's the bases to the right side that have the most mining and even a lot of the infrastructure. But anyways, KJ does take out the Void Ray, which means he can run away from the Stalkers pretty easily, who do not have Blink, so that's a big boon for KJ here. Should definitely re-warp the 3 other BCs across the map, I'd say, to the right side while Frieden's army is distracted over here. I think that would be a good play. KJ trying to stack up his units to where they can't be hit by the Stalkers. Does manage to do so seemingly successfully and is moving up the right-hand side of the map with the rest of his army. A good move here. Killing this base will be a nice step forward for KJ to get back into this, who is taking a 4th base in the bottom left-hand side now. Starting to mule that up, and we'll be able to kill his base on the right. The entire army of Frieden is busy on the left-hand side, and a pretty wonky game thus far. Very crazy. Does manage to clean up these Stalkers, I think. Yeah. Even the Marauders underneath slowing down the Stalkers so they can't kite the BCs as well is very nice. The upgrade advantage for Frieden is very big, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough. He's getting split apart a little bit too much by KJ, who has warped the BCs on the left side home. These BCs on the right, I believe, have their warp up, so they can get home pretty easily, should they so choose. They have not chosen that yet. Does make it out with both. Still no upgrades coming down the pipeline for KJ, though. Just that Yamada cannon and as many BCs as he can muster, but he's mined out of 4 of his 8 gases available, which means he is having a struggle bus time of building any more battle cruisers. He's actually swapping back into Bio, which seems to be somewhat of the right choice because Frieden is almost purely making stalkers, which Bio kind of shred. He does still have the 3 Colossi left over, but those can be Yamato down potentially, but I think Frieden may be able to move in and clean up before KJ can tip that supply scale in his favor. A very solid macro game out of Frieden here. Very impressive for sure. Does manage to get off some big AMPs, does KJ. But I think Frieden's just going to be able to move in and clean up here. Targeting down on the BCs. He does have Blink now, but I'm not sure if he realizes it because he hasn't had it for so long fighting these BCs. But he also says, I don't need to chase your BCs. I can just kill everything else you have in your life. And he does that. So pretty nice thus far. KJ trying to get out what he can to survive. But it's a rough spot. Does drop a nuke on the top right-hand side, but I'm not sure that's going to be enough. A big advantage in supply for Frieden at this point, both in army and in workers. Nuke does go off. We'll get about 15 probes. So looking fairly good there. And BC's counterattacking across the map. Getting what they can done. KJ doing an absolute champion's attempt at getting back into this game. He's doing his very best. I think it's really the upgrades on those BCs that hurt so much. He's lost 11 BCs, which is an enormous amount of money. And I think if not for that, I think if he'd had the upgrades, they might not have traded as poorly as they seemed to against the Stalkers, who did have 3-2. Who knows where we might be in this game at this point, but right now, KJ's struggling for money. Frieden has several bases with decent mining up at the moment, and can make more probes. Has a big army advantage, huge upgrade advantage, +3 armor now on the way as well, which will make the Stalkers all the better against those low-damage, rapid-firing BCs. KJ still just trying to repair up the BCs he currently has. He's not making more units. He's just trying to fix up the ones he has already. And the big army of Frieden coming in. I'm not sure there's enough to hold here for KJ. The bunker's not finished. The blinking happens perhaps a little early behind the Colossi, so the Bio do get a lot of damage off, but I don't think it's going to matter. Big storms come down, and Frieden looking good in this game. Does annihilate so many of the SCVs, almost 30 going down, less than 10 remain. And it looks like our series is going to be tied up 1-1 here soon. It's 117 supply to only 40. Some really epic nukes going down for KJ, who has killed 132 probes in this game. Only half of which were killed by that one single Viking. So the nukes did a pretty good job overall. But Frieden, I think, recognizing that KJ is going across the map, maybe going to try and catch that army. Colossi do get a little distracted on the rocks. Recall comes down. Will it complete? Yes, it will. Which means all of these Marines are going to go down. Frieden clawing to try and get back against Frieden, but I don't think KJ is going to be able to do it at this point. He's so far down in supply. Good attempts, but it's not quite enough there. And so many storms now available. We got 7 High Templar, each of them with about 2 storms worth of energy. Frieden now moving in with the Colossi into tanks and turrets. He must retreat. It's hard to bust a Terran. It's scary to bust a Terran, especially in a game so long and drawn out as this one. You're like, This has been such a crazy game. I think I'm ahead. I really don't want to throw. So far, he hasn't. So far, he's looking good. And I don't think you can throw at this point, but it's hard to know as the players in the game, obviously, with imperfect vision. Instead, he's opting to show his dominance by murdering some rocks, which is a good way to go. I do enjoy me a bit of rock murdering on the weekends. Although it's not a weekend now, so I'm not sure what he's doing. Anyways, we got 47 pros for Frieden, who's continuing to just macro up. He's not just headbutting to try and win. He's making sure he has his economy reestablished, which is good. Could probably take a base as well, because his bases are getting close to mining out. 3 of them practically already have. KJ moves down, but I think this might be the kill move with those tanks exposed. Frieden, though, still being careful. 3 tanks is a lot. I think those 3 Void Rays could almost just go in and win that fight, though. Especially with the 3 Colossi's help, I'm going to say they definitely could. But instead, he's opting to walk around KJ and sneak in on him. And KJ even unsieging one of his tanks, so it's not shelling away during this fight. Storm's blanketing the army of the Protoss, but almost the army of the Terran, and GG is called. All right, so that was our next game. Heading into our final game for the night. So one of our players does have to step away for just a moment. A crazy game number 2 there. Definitely a little bit more back and forth than game number 1, which went pretty one-sidedly. But looking pretty good there was Frieden. Looking pretty good. And I gotta swap the players over. Oh, whoopsie daisy. All right, we got everything set up correctly. We're going in. It's going to be 2K atmospheres to close us out for the night. And looking pretty good there was Frieden. Looking quite good indeed. Here we go. In the lower left-hand side of 2000 Atmospheres LE, we have our blue Terran this time player. He is
Freedom.
And in the upper right-hand side of the map, the red Terran player. He is
KJ, you may take our lives, but you'll never take our freedom.
So, very back and forth, crazy second game. Frieden does manage to tie the series up against KJ here. And now it's going to be a TBT. As Frieden sends an SCV out to scout across the map. And KJ scouting as well. So obviously up until now is a little bit of a TVP type beat going on. But now we'll see how Frieden manages to perform on another race. In another time. Yeah, so we'll see. Gas is going down for both players. KJ may already know that it's Terran, but now he definitely does. As he comes in to scout. It's going to be double gas for Frieden and KJ. Slightly later out of KJ, though, as he did not know his TVT quite as quickly as Frieden did. Because the game cheated and told Frieden what race KJ was. That's not fair. Anyways. Orbital commands coming down for both players. Factory starting up for Frieden. Pretty quickly. He was going in to see if there's a natural base out of KJ just yet. Nothing yet. but soon to be something. As a Reaper is on the way for KJ, he's also going to be dropping a natural command center, it looks like. The suspense is killing me. Make the base. Okay, made a factory. Never mind. Okay, wait. All right, make the... All right, good. We did it. We did it, Reddit. We won. All right, so on the other side of the map, factory's finishing up. Tech Lab on the way on the barracks, so perhaps a bit of Cyclone action, or maybe tanks. Who knows? Well, we're about to, I'll tell you that much. Tanks. All right, interesting. So we're going to go for a bit of a one-base tank push, I think, for Frieden here, as he is dropping down his starport as well. KJ kind of knows it's one base, but might just expect Frieden to expand here. But Frieden is not expanding just yet, is dropping a supply depot so as not to get supply blocked. And hiding that SCV, going to go in for a scout. A fusion core. Okay, so he's doing a BC rush, but he's hiding it with tanks. That's cool. I like that. Gets the tank for safety, I think. Maybe we'll even go for like a medevac drop with like 4 Marines and a tank on one side and then go in with the BC in the main or something like that, which would be kind of sick if that's what he did. That'd be kind of cool. Now, KJ's going to find out what's going on, sort of. We'll see if he decides to jump up into the main base or not. I'm really not sure. That tank is right there, though, so... Okay, yeah. Looks like he is going to try and jump up into the main base. The tank unsieges, though, which means KJ should get a full scout off on what's going on. Okay, and there's 2 jump-up spots. I forgot. Okay, KJ knows what's going on now. He's seen the fusion core. He's going in with the 3 Reapers. Frieden was trying to move out with his medevac, but unable to, and this is why a lot of Terran players like to opt for these quick Reapers and Hellions. They have a lot of potential for scouting and damage in TVT. And we're really seeing that pay off for KJ, who's basically forcing Frieden to stay at home when he wanted to be going out with a drop right now. As Frieden, I think, is going to double expand now. Or no, okay, he's just making gases. That would have been pretty funny if he double expanded. I would have found that awesome. But I also find making BCs often. Awesome. I find it awesome, so I'm pretty happy about that as well. Tries to go into the main base with the Hellion, does lose it, but the Reapers may still be able to get a couple SCVs yet. Oh, but the medevac heal. The hero medevac out healing the Reapers damage. And now the tank waiting on the low ground, so if the Reapers jump down there, I think the tank will kill them both. Yeah. Oh, not quite, because he ran away. Oh, he does get a both. The epic tank flank of 2022, ladies and gentlemen. You were here. You witnessed it. Make sure to drop a follow and subscribe so you don't miss the next epic tank flank. Anyways, we've got a BC on the way. We got Yamato cannon coming down as well. KJ knows what's happening with this, though, so I don't expect too much damage to happen from the BC. But Frieden, playing pretty flexibly, is expanding because he knows it's been scouted. Is trying to go across with the medevac drop, though, to still get some damage done. Vikings might see this. I think they're just going to barely miss it, which is good for Frieden. If you can get this drop down, tanks are pretty nice, but KJ has a sick defensive position going here, and yeah, we're about to see some big damage coming out. Frieden's Marines trying to push back KJ's Vikings away from the medevac. You leave her alone, they say. They say, okay, and then they bite the Marines' faces off. Probably not what the Marines were expecting to happen from that exchange, but I think it's what Frieden was expecting, and so I think he's pretty happy with that. Getting out with the medevac, that's good. A little unfortunate to lose the tank and the Marines and everything, but hard to expect KJ to be that prepared against that, especially when he scouted the fusion core. But KJ dotting his I's and crossing his T's in this game. Strangely enough, he's making just a weird amount of orbital commands. I feel like it has to be alternating orbital command and planetary. But, you know, to each their own, I guess. No, I'm just joking. Orbitals are good here. I liked the planetary in the previous game, and I like the 3 orbitals in this game. Very well done. A lot of Vikings out. Luckily, Frieden did not opt to warp across the map, because that would have been a big-o mistake-o. So this way, he should be able to warp out with the BC when the Vikings inevitably come. So that's good. He's continuing to make BCs, though, and he's making double armory. So that, we'll see how that goes. Here comes the Vikings. Does Yamato one of the Vikings? Very nice. We'll make it out. And there we go. Double upgrades for the BCs on the way. He's using the trapped SCV to repair his BC. That is what I call extracting value, ladies and gentlemen. I like that a lot. Very well done out of Frieden. Sees the stuck SCV. He's like, oh, well, I know something you can do. And indeed, he's doing it now. Now, a lot of Liberators on the way for KJ. He's already got 2 out, and he's making 2 more. So we'll see what he opts for with those. It's Thor BC out of Frieden, which is a pretty cool composition. We'll see if it pans out in this game. I think against the Liberators, it actually kind of will a little bit. I think if KJ was continuing to make Vikings and Bio here, it would look a little bit better for him, but still looking strong, obviously. Good worker count, decent army size advantage, upgrades on par, has stim coming down. Pretty good overall. Now, it is a planetary out of Frieden for his third base. So going to be very safe there. Frieden does a good job of continually producing workers throughout the game, so props to him for that. Yeah, so a little bit of a supply block there, but no big deal. Continuing to make BCs. A little overzealous with his production, I think. Similar to how KJ was in the previous game. 2 factories and 2 starports. Trying to produce 2 Thors and 2 BCs at the same time is a little difficult, but that's okay. And his Thor is also stuck because of the way his wall is set up. He needs to lower that other depot, and he'll be able to make it out, but I'm sure he'll figure that out in time. Pulling some workers from his net to his third. That's very good as well. We do see 2 Thors on the way. KJ Freedom is moving out, though. That's a significant army supply advantage. 1-1 has finished up for Frieden. I feel like tanks. I feel like you need to make at least like 3 or 4 tanks and then go into Thors here. Just because Marines are strong, dude. They're good. Marines are real good. We'll see, though. I've been known to be wrong at times. Might be able to catch part of the army out here alone. Not quite able to. KJ does siege up very far in advance, so that's good out of Frieden. Keeping him busy there. Who has not set his Thors to single fire mode, I don't think. Which is probably what you want to have it set as against Liberators. Frieden just barely misses that drop going out, I believe. Quite unfortunate. Luckily, though, BCs can warp, so he can respond to it pretty quickly, in theory. A big supply block coming in for Frieden. It's the kind of supply block where... Okay, there we go. It frees up. It's the kind of supply block where you don't get supply block for long, so we like that one. Frieden mirroring the movements of KJ pretty well here. Going to go in for some Yamatos and then leave, I think. Indeed, he does, but now he can't warp into the main base against these Marines. 2-2 is exposed. But KJ going for the base instead. And Frieden just not sure what to do here, I think. He's not sure how to split his forces. It's a rough situation. That's a lot of Marines in the main base, but a whole lot of Marines and tanks and Vikings and Lions and Tigers and Bears, oh my, outside the natural base. Tanks siege up. Thors are going down. And yeah, I think he just needs some tanks here, man. It's a cool idea with the Thor BC, but I think we're seeing here that Marines are just good, and tanks are good as well. So if the tanks manage to zone you out and you don't have tanks of your own to defend yourself, it's going to look rough for you. I think Frieden may be able to push back here just because of the sheer number of BCs. They're taking a lot of damage in the meantime. I think Freedom should just run. Cut and run, dude. Oh, no. KJ's overstaying his welcome. I may have been wrong. This has actually worked out quite well. but mainly just because of the BCs. The Thors didn't do too much, but the BCs have done work. And actually, sending those 16 Marines to the main base may have been a bit of a mistake here, as then he didn't really have any anti-air, you know, with the main army. It was mainly tanks and marauders, a few Vikings, but Vikings are only decent against battlecruisers. They're not the best. And with that, it's an even situation here. KJ did manage to deny the +2 attack of the battlecruisers, which is nice. The +2 armor does finish up significantly ahead the +2/+2 of KJ. But KJ's hitting his macro cycles pretty well. It looks like he's going to swap into a bit more of an air-focused army himself, as he's dropping 3 additional starports and starting to get those air attack upgrades as well. Each player grabbing their 4th base up. And Frieden opting for additional factories, whereas KJ is opting for additional starports. So both valid choices. And I believe, yeah, so Frieden did lose his main base command center as well to that attack. So he's rebuilding it now, continuing to make more BCs. It's a knife's edge sort of composition. BCs are very, very knife's edgy kind of thing. It's like you really got to be careful with them, and it's very easy to just lose hugely or win hugely. So he's got to be careful to do the winning version of that. I think I'd say that's the goal. Now, +2 attack is now on the way for Frieden. Good to see he's getting that upgrade down as well. Fusion core now coming down for KJ, as he's making a lot of Ravens and Vikings, which is a very strong composition against battlecruisers. Obviously, Ravens have a disable ability, which prevents the battlecruisers from attacking, warping out, using Yamato. I think it even cancels Yamatos if they're in the charge up time while the or when the disable hits. So we'll see. We'll see. High sec auto track can come down for Frieden, but KJ making a much more powerful army here. And yeah, I mean, if Frieden does not manage to adjust and add on some other units here, it's going to be a rough spot. He really needs some tanks to deal with all that ground bio, and then potentially some Ravens of his own. But it's hard to know in these scenarios. It's hard to know exactly what to do. Frieden, I'm impressed. He's attempting to come out with some more macro-focused plays, or at least I guess he was fairly aggressive, but then he's swapping into macro pretty smoothly if his aggression doesn't work out. And obviously won a macro game in the previous game, and has done pretty decently for himself in this game as well. So +3/+3 ground now on the way for KJ. +2 air going to be finishing up soon for Frieden. KJ approaching max out. He's going to have about 10 to 12 Ravens once he hits that, which is at least 10 to 12 disables roughly. Which is more than there are BCs. There are only 9 BCs, which means Frieden is going to have his entire army removed from the game, basically. Well, KJ's not disabling them, so... Oh, no. KJ, no! Okay. Does get 3 disables off. Gonna chase down and stem underneath. I like this. And, yeah, KJ's army kind of showing its dominance here. Frieden should be able to warp out with these additional BCs. But another shutdown comes out for KJ. Does manage to target down both of these battle cruisers, and that's over half of the BCs going down at this point. So, I mean, even with KJ, I mean, this is a hard army to micro for KJ. There's like 7 different unit types. Even with the little bit of missed micro where he loses a couple Ravens, still just dominating that fight with Disables and Vikings. And continuing to push in against the BCs, which now no longer have their warp. One of them dies before it can even get off its Yamato. The rest of them are falling rapidly, and it looks like KJ will be able to push through to the 2-1 victory in this series. Frieden fighting for his life, but KJ looking strong, and GG is called.
got it.
Alrighty. Welcome back, everybody. Very well played overall. An epic series, another game 3, which is always nice to see. Let's start off with Frieden.
Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, good game, man. Good game, KJ.
GG, dude. Nice job. That was.
Yeah.
Oh, oh,
Interesting. Different games.
man, I'm gonna have to watch the VOD on that.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Ask away. I mean, I've got my own impressions, but I definitely need to go back and.
Yeah, let's see.
it.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's this continual thing where there's always like an epic game 2 or 3, and then I have a hard time being like game 1. But okay, game 1.
Okay.
We had just the Widow Mine drop, killed like 16
Oh yeah.
probes.
That's brutal.
Yeah, so just a really clean build out of KJ and some good
Yeah.
discipline there to actually send out the drop when he kind of was worried about an attack. So well done there, KJ. And yeah, Frieden, obviously. I mean, when you came in with those DTs, there's only 3 Marines in that bunker, and that's all his units. But it's hard to know, right? So I think that was the strength of his attack. I think what you might want to throw in is if you're going to go for DTs against Terran, you probably want to have a Warp Prism, just because then you probably just go right past the bunker, right? And you don't run away, and then he kills 16, probes, but you kill 20 SCVs with the SC or with the DTs in the main base. So something to think about, I guess.
For that match, so I've done Warp Prism builds before, and the sort of thing was KJ seen me do those. So, and he's seen me do DTs like hundreds of times. I did mix it up a little bit with this match. I started kind of indecisive. I didn't really know where I'd put my DT shrine, and so I realized that I didn't have enough to punch in the way that I'd feel confident about because I left my stalker at the base. Usually the bunker's not a problem for me. I'll just have a stalker up front, and that's distracting enough to go in and chop it up with DTs. But I think I was too nervous about what else might have been beyond that bunker. And so yeah, KG just had he was in control the entire time. He had good detection. His drop was perfect. So I got easily outplayed by a good margin. I have been trying to mix up things with my DT play lately, like the Warp Prisms as mentioned. I'm so good at getting DTs out at 350 that I've actually started delaying that sometimes for particular kinds of builds, just to mix it up or make things look like a DT build, but then go in a different direction. So I tried to do that for game 2, but yeah, game 2 is something else too. But anyways,
game 1 was good, man. Look, listen, the problem with game 1 is I saw no expansion, and I was like, oh, he did this against Hurtin time. He's gonna make a DT, and so I made a eBay right away. I even had a Raven ready to go, so I figured I like, well, there's no way he's gonna have anything at home. That's really all it was, right? So, but with game 2, man, I looked at the you know how after the game you look at the graphs. I look at the graphs and I'm like, holy crap, this guy played it perfectly. Which is you macroed like hell on that. I saw you had so many workers. I thought I was great because I was harassing and killing workers, but I was
I kept
actually
getting
behind.
nuked, man.
Well, I figured I was like, I can't really take a risk and push out with all my army, so let me just keep harassing him until he bleeds out. But you never actually did. Your worker supply was so high. So I was like, oh, I read that game completely wrong.
Yeah. So for game 2 was weird for me because I was absolutely sure. I felt like I was being toyed with.
Oh, you thought you were? Yeah, I wasn't.
Yeah, because the thing with whenever I see nukes, it's hard for me to see nukes as they're almost like a taunt. I see them so rarely, and I know there's pros who are really good with nukes and stuff like that. But when, the only time I ever do nukes is when I'm easily in control of the game.
When you're way ahead. I see.
So that's how it felt to me. I was like, man, and I was just doing so much, just basic blunders. I built 2 Templar archives because I thought that one of them was a Citadel of Adun, and I was like, wait, that's not what that was, and just really basic blunders where my probes were getting stuck, and so I was getting really frustrated. And then right then my kid came home and he was watching me and he was trying to talk to me and stuff like that. So I was like, man, I'm just trying to, I'm just trying to do this game. Yeah. So that was actually a really frustrating game for me. Yeah, I think what it was is I just kept going. I just kept expanding out. I just
you did it right, actually, man. It may feel frustrating, but honestly,
I was just looking at the graphs. I'll have to watch the VODs. You know, I was being careful. I was too careful, and you played it right. You were making nonstop workers and units, and you kept expanding. Every time I go try to kill, I was like, oh, because every time I saw a new base, I was like, I can't keep going and attacking it. You know, he might have a lot of units, and you did, right? What do you
Yeah.
think, ET? What happened in that game? You have the map hack. You can see the whole thing. So
Yeah, so for reference, you killed I think it was 132 probes that game. So he is just
wow, that's
yeah
why he's frustrated.
Yeah, it was
yeah
frustrating.
he was just remaking them like a beast. What really happened, I think you were ahead, KJ, but
Oh, okay.
the BC swap was unupgraded BCs, and he had two stalkers.
Uh-huh.
And so it's just the upgrade advantage. I think is really what it came down
I
to there,
see. So the
because
BC was the problem.
once stalkers have like a lot of upgrades, like attack upgrades, they kill BC so much faster than they normally do. It's pretty crazy. So I think that's a lot of what it came down to. But yeah, I mean, and then you probably felt like you're doing pretty well because you are nuking every base, and like every nuke was getting
Yeah, I thought
off.
I was like, all right, cool. I
Yeah.
can't really attack straight up yet, so I'll just keep doing this until I can. And then I realized,
Yeah.
crap, his army is getting bigger and bigger.
Yep, yeah, and
the nukes just kept coming, and at some point I just felt, especially because you were going for my main, and at that point I just had like some tech buildings there, and I was like, you know what, I'm willing to lose that.
Ah,
So
and it kind of helped out.
yeah. Yeah. I was like, I don't have workers there anymore. I'm already like pushing out. And the main thing for me was I just kept checking if you had more bases that were like further
I
out from
couldn't.
your
You kept
main.
you kept killing them, man. Every time I
Yeah, so I
tried.
kept checking the naturals. I was like, okay, as long as I can stay on top of the naturals, then I felt like I could keep going. So yeah, and then it's just basically like 'cause you nuke things, and then like I forget to rebuild pylons, and then like my rally points were bad, and then I had like 20 probes on a simulator, and just weird stuff, and so I was like constantly trying to just stay alive, and I didn't really feel like I was a challenge to you until the end, and I was like, oh okay, maybe maybe this is gonna
Maybe I
work
can
out.
do this. Yeah, once I see it's like, oh man, his army is huge. One more thing I want to add is I started making ghosts because I thought I scanned the Templar archives. So I was like, I'm gonna need some EMP, and then
Yeah.
I never really saw the ghosts too much. So I I started, naturally you want to make some nukes anyway, right?
Mhm.
So that's basically what happened. ET, anything else interesting in that game?
um, well, I thought the the natural planetary fortress was pretty epic.
Oh, I misread it, man, because I was like, this guy's all inning me again. So I was like, I'm gonna put a thing there, and I'm not gonna die to that.
Yeah, I think it
Yeah.
was actually the right choice because he was kind of going
Oh, was
for
he?
charge lots. Yeah,
Mhm.
but I
'Cause I
think you wound
never
up
do
not
that.
committing as much because you had a planetary fortress in your natural, so it's hard to
I
commit
never
there.
do that, man. But I was like, I think I'm gonna be ahead if I do this.
Yeah. Well, because when I saw that, I was going for the charge lot drop, and when I saw the planetary, there's well, I'm not gonna do much, and you had to tank it in your main, and then I was debating about if I could effectively send enough charge lots into your mineral line that you'd nuke your own mineral line. I feel like that wasn't gonna be cost effective either way, so I gave up on that and just switched up. But yeah, I think you did read that right on building planetary at your natural,
Okay.
because that definitely kept me at bay for a lot longer than I thought.
Yeah, and then I guess the only other thing was for you, KJ, and I think I talked about this a bit in the VOD, but you swapped up which bases you were nuking a little bit late. So you'd like annihilated the probes in like the third and the main and the nat, but he had like full mining on his fourth and his fifth base, and it took you quite a while to start sending
Uh,
ghosts over there. You kept nuking empty bases,
I see. I
but
see.
that's
That
hard to.
was,
You aren't really expecting him to have 5 bases at that point, right?
yeah,
So
man. It
it's
was
hard.
getting. And then one more thing that kind of screwed me up was I sent out an early drop that he found right away. It was like Marines, and then that basically said, okay, I don't have map control now. I gotta stay back and just harass with the Raven and the Viking. So that's basically what that was.
Yeah, which that Viking did some crazy damage. That was very good. Your harassment throughout the game was really, really good. I mean, even that one medevac, which caused him, Frieden built an entire Stargate and a Void Ray to finally get rid of that one
Yeah.
red HP medevac. So
Dude, I was so mad, dude. I was like, oh, that's it, man. I'm done with this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's game two. But game three was a long one, guys.
Yeah.
What the
yeah,
heck was that?
Yeah. So I know.
Well, maybe
Okay.
before we give our impressions,
he can lead us because our impressions could be completely wrong, right? Et, why don't you tell us? You know, because you see the whole thing. What did you think happened there? And you can ask us specific things. You know.
Yeah, so I mean, he obviously went for the BC rush, but then you scouted it with your Reapers. So I thought Frieden did a pretty good job of kind of quickly throwing down a command center and macking out of that. But obviously, once you've dropped the fusion core and everything that early, and your opponent has a base that much faster, it's going to be a rough position. So you definitely got an edge there. And then the Thor battle cruiser composition you managed to work against pretty well. Funnily enough, you almost lost the game because you sent all your Marines to drop his main base, which I thought was a great move at the time. But then we come back to the main fight, and I'm like, oh, there's like 4 Marines here against like 5 BCs. So I started to get a little bit worried. But it was hard to kind of counterattack from there. But yeah, it was just I think the scouting throughout the series that really kept you doing pretty well, especially in the early to mid game, was you're able to get knowledge on what exactly he was going for, and you countered it really well each time. And that really just put him behind in game 3. And unlike in game 2, I don't think he was able to come back from it as well. So that was my impressions overall.
Yeah, I scanned him and I saw the fusion core. I was like, oh, this guy's gonna battle cruiser me. So then I put to it right away, and I started making Vikings, and I just stayed put with the tank. And then I was like, all right, I'm gonna stay put here, just defend what he's doing, and see what happens. That's basically what it was. And he did drop me. I killed his drop, right? And I chased whatever remnants he had, and then I wanted to see what he was doing next. And then I think I scanned or something, and I saw he was kind of going mech with more BCs. So that prompted me to just keep upgrading, keep making Vikings, and keep making anti-battle cruiser, anti-mech stuff, right? And I tried to siege him and attack him first, but then his army looked scary with his Thors and BCs. I was like, all right, let me back off a little bit and just get another one. And then I was like, you know what? I'll drop him, split him, because his mech's slow, right? Mech is very slow.
Yeah.
So I split two and then I killed his command center, but then my army up front got wrecked by his army. So I had to back up and just emergency starports and turrets. I don't know if you noticed that, but those are bad ideas at that point.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think I pushed out far enough for those. So from my perspective, that match, again, it was a lot of mechanical problems for me. And this kind of goes back to me. When I mentioned I don't play this map often, so you'll see it in the VOD. When I built my command center, my second command center for my natural, I actually blocked my tech lab, so I couldn't land my starport for a really long time. And so I had like these debating moments where should I just cancel my command center, which is 2/3 done, so I could build my battle cruiser, just stuff like that, because I'm not used to such a small starting base area. So just really bad blunder like that. So that delayed my my first battle cruiser by a lot. Maybe that worked out because then I saw your Reaper and Hellion coming in, so I was able to defend a bit. But yeah, that threw me off badly, and I felt like my rhythm was off quite a bit during the rest of the match. Your pushes were really good. I don't like. I was debating about how I would use my teleports or my warps or whatever it is, and usually it's a mix. Playing Hurt in Time actually helps me a lot because he gave me these good tips about like saving it or flying
Yeah,
over
save
to
it to escape. Yep, that's the
yeah,
one.
yeah, using it to escape or using it to attack. So it kind of reminded me actually of game 2 where you would escape from one battle but then jump into my natural or my main base to continue to fight. And so I was debating about how I'd be using that. Then a lot of times it didn't matter because your Vikings had enough mobility to keep up with my short range teleports. You had a lot of control on the ground, and so I kind of just doubled down on battle cruisers, and I just felt like if I got enough of them, then I'd have a chance. But yeah, it was a tough match. It was a tough match for me.
At, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it was some unfortunate timing as well in that one fight because you see the BCs like move out and they Yamato'd a bunch of your Vikings and Liberators and stuff whenever you're outside of his like fourth base. But then like right after he warps back to escape from that, that's when the medevacs really hits. Then he doesn't have his BC warp, which caused him to be late coming back with the BCs. I think if his BCs had been there with his Thors, he might have crushed that fight a little bit harder and maybe could have done a counterattack.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a little bit of unfortunate timing there, and you could definitely see there was this moment where the BCs and the Thors were in between his Nat and his third, and the drop was in the main base, and you could almost see the gears turning of like, how on earth am I going to split my army up right now? Right? Like it's such a hard thing to know where to
Yeah,
put.
both of them were slow. That's the whole reason I did that, hoping that he'd have to make the tough decision. If he's gonna teleport, I'm gonna lift up and run away with my drop ships, right? And then towards the end, I really had to make sure I was microing well with the Ravens for the big fight, because I figured if I nullify his big guns, my my mass of Vikings and infantry should wipe out the rest.
Yeah,
So-
and it definitely did that quite well.
So, question: how long does nullify last?
I had no idea.
Because here's like I was thinking about this even in game 2 as well as game 3. Like I realized that, for example, in game 2 I was using recall, and I never use recall, and so I was really confused by it because I'd use recall and it wouldn't go, like my army that would be teleported back wouldn't go to the nexus that I expected, and that happened multiple times, and I thought it was really confusing. So that's something I'm gonna have to read up on. But then it also reminded me of, like, when I saw you doing nullify, I was like, can I wait this out? Like, should this be something I retreat from, or can I just like move this battle
You
cruiser to the
you
back
want to
and
retreat, or if you have the anti-armor, because why are you gonna fight with these guys that are just getting shot for no reason? And as far as like the recall, you have to be careful that you're selecting the nexus you want to recall to. You don't if you have number 4 and you have 5 nexuses with number 4 hotkey and you click, I don't know which one it goes to, right? So I always select the specific nexus. I don't know, ET, do you know?
Yeah, I think that's what most of the pros do. A lot of them obviously have base cameras, so they'll just
Oh yeah,
hit the
that's true.
base
They can
camera
just do
hotkey
that.
and then click on the
Base
nexus.
camera is hard, man. I
what's
tried
base
that.
cameras? Like, what's
It's
the
like
hotkey for that?
it's a location
Um,
hotkey,
you've
right?
got to set it up individually. I could probably message you after
Yeah.
about that.
Okay.
He'll help you out. He knows a lot of cool tricks. I'll tell you one
Alright,
last thing because I saw a question on chat. Gil
yeah.
Mizel asked, how was his micro controlling all the units, Bio, Raven, Air, etc.? That was good. So you guys will be surprised. This is what I do. I hotkeyed all of them into one control group, and then I just tab to the different ones to do the
Yeah.
different spells.
Yeah.
That's just way too much. Way too much. I don't want to do like 3 or 4 of them. What I do is like, all right, I'm gonna fight, and I have it pre-selected to the first spell I want to use. And in which case, the big attack that I had with you was the Raven, um, disable. I actually even had to look at the letter to like to do this. I was
Yeah.
like, what is that? I was like, oh, it's C.
Yeah.
Okay. During the fight, that's what I'm doing. So it's a preparation thing. That's why I scanned and then I was like, all right, let's go do this. Let's dance. And then that's basically what happened. And then I just go tab, press I for the stim, and just keep going. And then, oh, okay, cool. I have no Raven energy for disable. Boom, auto turrets. So it's that kind of. I'm used to it because I do that with all the races. I don't really know all the spells, like and know
Yeah.
the hotkeys.
That's the random life,
Yeah.
man. That's how it
Yeah,
is
the
with
random life is
Valkyrie.
what I've been doing lately.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully that
I
answers
mean, you
your
see, even
question.
like, yeah, I mean, I do the same thing. It was a habit I picked up from Warcraft 3, like tabbing over, and seeing the different control groups.
That's
But
not
like a
bad.
lot of times, you see me like during the VOD, like I'll like look really close at my screen. It's literally I don't know what the letter is, and I have to look it up.
I
Like,
did the same exact thing
yeah,
when I fought you with the big final decisive fight when I knew you had
yeah,
just one composition, which is mass well with the Thors too.
DCs,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, ET, you have any other questions for us?
I think that's just about it. I did check just to make sure I was right. It's 11 seconds for the disable, so yeah, it's not something you
Oh
really
wow.
typically want to fight through because it lasts a while. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think that pretty much clears it up. And
All right.
great games overall. Good last series.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
fun,
Fun
man. You
games,
you
man.
ma- you made me work really hard on all the games. You're very because you're hard to read. So my priority was to always overestimate how much you're gonna attack me. So even if I fall behind, it's okay. Maybe I'll catch up. But I don't want to die to an all-in. That's basically my game plan against you tonight.
Hey, I
So
think you succeeded, man. So, yeah, fun games,
cool.
KJ, as always.
All right, man. GG's and guys, thanks for tuning in. ET, thanks for casting tonight. Um, and let's look at what the next games are coming up, right? So
right now, obviously, this will change the standings I'm showing on the screen, right? The 2v2 we didn't play tonight, but the code B we have Chinpone going. Oh, there you go. It's already been updated. It looks like nice. So he's 1-1 as far as his record after beating Miss Uber XL, and then in code A, Hyper Turtle goes 0-2 while Cyan is 1-1. And then tonight I go 2-0 with my first loss. And our next what's our next match for Friday? Do we know what that is? Let's see. For Friday,
I think I'm playing on Friday, if I recall.
oh, I have it right here. Here you go. So there you go. Friday we have. I'm showing it on screen now. Criminal versus Little Reaper. That would be code B, guys. That would be really interesting. And then the 2v2 match, Tortoise and Hare and Benzel. That would be really cool. And then, yeah, we have 2 Code S matches this Friday. So, Frieden, you're playing again, and it's against Ghost Chant, who we've never seen him play 1-on-1. We saw him on a 2-on-2. What race was
Okay.
he? Do you remember, ET? Do you remember?
Oh, he was against Benzel, right? He was the
Is it Terran? I think it
Terran
was
player.
Terran.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was Cyan was Protoss and he was Terran. Yep.
Got it. So yeah, Frieden will be playing another Terran. So that guy, Ghost Champ, might be watching the VODs and seeing what he can learn from that tonight's game, Frieden. And then Mizel will play Malagant, the Benzel team. So that's our Friday games. I'm excited for that. We have 4 matches to show. So that'll do it.
That'll be a fun
Well,
Friday.
yeah, man. So thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks, ET, for casting once again, and thanks to all the people that watched. You guys have a good evening, and we'll end it with the special video we had for the players. So thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Have a
guys.
good
See you guys
evening.
soon.
See you guys.
Have a good night.